Yo, how's it going? Zach tells me I look good, which means I probably don't. I probably look a lot like how I feel, which isn't great. How you guys doing? Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. My name's Peter Howard at PA Howdy on Twitter. I'm here tonight with Zach Reed, Dynasty. What's his name? Tacit Assassin 13 on Twitter. He's not 13, I swear. He's actually a full-grown man with that handle. He's staring at me funny. FF Expo this weekend. It's about it. Drop your questions, comments, or insults in the little comment box next to whatever live platform you happen to be on. And I don't know, let's talk some Dynasty until I finally fall asleep again. Zach, Russ hates me. He said, I got it. He said it. He was like, I'm not coming. And you were like, why'd you hate Peter? It's like, I just do. So, like, I got proof this time. Like, that's an actual quote. But yeah, Russ can't make it tonight, guys. Sorry for that.
Yeah, although he quasi said maybe.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, maybe, but probably not.
Well, he's got the link.
If his wife stays asleep and he can get all the fantasy football stuff done that he needs to do and pack, because I'm gonna go pick him up to go to the fantasy football expo.
Oh yeah, I still got to figure out packing and also how to get there. I googled it once just to see how far it was, but I don't. That's as far as it got.
It's like northeast.
That way. I just go that way a while, right?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
I mean, there's got to be a sign, Zach, this way. Cool. They're really getting good with these directions.
I feel like you're like a map quest, like print out the directions.
I'm more like, the homing pigeon. I just drive and eventually I will probably get somewhere, Yeah, Kid Coop, what's up? Evening, gents. First off, what happened to the main last week? And thanks to Zach's recommendations, tried First Gelato Fiasco. That one?
Yeah, Gelato Fiasco. That's the restaurant, the gelato place in Brunswick.
Nice.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm Kid Coop. I am glad that you got there. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I may pick some up on the way out of town tomorrow. Who knows?
All I want to do is turn on my overhead fan. You won't mind the whoop, 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 whoop noise if I do, would you? Like, it's so humid here. And it rained most of the day, again. Second, I took your advice and got Pickens in 2 leagues. A lot of good training camp news. I got the recap just before the show. That's all I know. I don't even check RotoWorld anymore. For a start, that page doesn't seem as fun as it used to. It's not as easy. Since it switched ownership, in my opinion, and it just causes trouble. Like I can only read stuff that will change my mind in a bad way, so I don't even know what's going on. Pumped to have him. Just got offered 2 foot. Yeah, I would take 223 first for him. That's profiting from a micro market.
Yes, absolutely. You're very happy about that, Coop.
Bazaltzberg, thanks in advance. I think that's in. 12 teams will flex, half-point PPR, start 9, 4 points per touchdown, and Elijah Moore and a rookie 107 or Fields. I mean, is that 22 107? Is that still happening?
It's got to be.
God.
Man, the value probably says Field.
It does, but I think I want Elijah Moore.
I do too, and that's really strange to me to say. But I've been listening to this show called the Dynasty Crossroads. I don't know if you've heard about it, and talking about how often we project what we want with these young quarterbacks, even though it's not necessarily their fault. It could be situation. Like Fields seems like that to me. Fields seems like they haven't done much to put a team around him. Darnell Mooney accepted, and maybe David Montgomery. It's going to be really difficult for Fields to ascend. I already know I've got something decent in Elijah Moore. I might try to flip the 107.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to trade that pick, but that's
that
not,
may be
that's
that
not
may
it.
be Pickens, that may be Bell, that may be Sky Moore. Like that may be somebody who's interested.
Unless you think Fields is really easy to flip, you got to read your league a little bit. A quarterback should be. You should be able to get Mac Jones and something for Fields. Then sure, but my instinct says Elijah. I want the Elijah Moore side, and I'm not a strong trader, so I just lean that way.
And that is Salzburg. Like that's Peter. You hit that absolutely perfect. If your league is active and you can take Fields and then flip him for a quarterback plus something, then that's worth doing. Otherwise, I'd hang on to the Moore and the rookie 107 as much as I.
No, I ran that value calculation and I've been looking through it, and it took me like way too long to figure out. I have no quarterbacks I like. That's why I'm so on them right now. Like, I've got all these negative evaluations based on my ranks that I read out in my podcasts this week, like Justin Fields. There's also Deshaun Watson, but I just skipped over that one. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, even Joe Burrow, I have significantly ranked lower. Justin Herbert, because he's a QB2 and I'm not doing that. But in my positives, there isn't a quarterback in my top 11, and in my top 12, it's Patrick Mahomes because I have him above Justin Herbert. It's not until you get to like Jalen Hurts, and then I'm like 30% above the crowd. Like, I don't have a lot of must have this quarterback. I thought Mac and Tua would show up because I kind of like them, and they do, but not significantly above the crowd, if you know what I mean.
I am curious, where do you have, and I could pull this up if I really wanted to, but it's more fun to put you on the spot. Where do you have Trey Lance in your dynasty rankings?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that today. It's like I've been talking to you about, like, I'm fine with him inside the top 12, even top 10, because after that, I mean, quarterback is just a big shrug anyway for a while, and I understand the upside. It's when he starts getting valued towards the top 5, I'm like, I don't know. Where do I have him right now? I have to do it kind of backwardsy here, because I'm looking at the values, not the actual ranks. There he is. I have him too low. No, I have quarterback 13 right now, which is a little too low.
I'd definitely take him above that.
Yeah, that's fine. And I can understand that. Let's see, who have I got? Good question. Position rank. Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Lamar, Kyler, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. That's probably why, because I'm willing to take the older guys, I guess. Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, I got Tua above him. I was trying to get Tua as a value in my ranks, and I just, it gets a little crazy, you know? But I think Tua and Lance are close for me, so I did that. But,
see, I think I think the potential points for Lance is just so high with his rushing. Like that's the one thing that makes me like, if I'm getting him outside of those top 8 that you listed, like, I'm happy, or 9 if you want to throw Hurts in there, because he's proven and is very good. Like,
I get it. Like I say, I think inside the top 12 is fine, but why do you think his ceiling is high because of his rushing? Surely it just makes his floor a little more certain.
Yes, but if you add those points to, you assume he's going to be at least a mediocre passer, and you add this, it's the not Josh Allen, the Lamar Jackson second year jump, where he came in, wasn't a great passer. The second year they gave him the keys, and he was the quarterback 1 running away, pun intended, with 1,000 yards rushing. And so, like, that's the potential that Lance has.
Lamar Jackson is the thing, but Lamar Jackson is like the quarterback 5 in Dynasty right now. Most of us are like,
but again, that's going back to your people are worried he's going to get hurt because he's a rusher. I don't care about that. Well, that's the thing.
Like, we're willing to overpay for it before it happens, and if it happens, we'll start to hate it.
But that's the plan. And those are the places where you can make you can make money, make value.
Right.
But Lamar Jackson's still going top 5, so it's not like we're out.
Well, it's
on
more
him.
than that, though. It's like Josh Allen. Everyone has Josh Allen ranked behind Mahomes, and when pushed, the real reason seems to be rushing and injury. And I'm like,
which is wild.
So Lance up, Allen down. Got it.
Yeah.
I think it's got more to do with his floor. I think he has the potential to be a Lamar Jackson. That's becoming increasingly common at the quarterback position. But I mean, it's not easy to be Lamar Jackson any more easier than it is to be a, Patrick Mahomes. Well, maybe that's a little high, but Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. I think more in terms of floor. But I get it. It's fine.
Don't skip that.
Did I?
That question though.
I did. Would you trade Mariota to a team that needs a quarterback, but you have their 23 first? Trade as Mariota, Damian Harris, Sammy Watkins, Rudolph. I would trade Mariota. I'd feel great to get some value out of one of those quarterbacks, to be honest. Unless he's my quarterback 3-2-3, and I'm really pushing for this year.
No, he's just 4. He's got Hurts, Wentz, and Wilson. So he's got Mariota's his 4th starter.
That's fine, but I don't want to trade it for this.
For Nick Chubb?
For Nick Chubb? Oh, yeah, I would. Sorry, I was looking at all these names. Like, this is... But, yeah, for Nick Chubb, sure. Yeah, I'd do that.
Yep. Because there's no guarantee that Mariota would be good either.
He's just a quarterback you could start in Superflex this year. Cool. But probably not next year because probably won't hold the job. It's really unusual those guys flare up and do...
His quarterbacks are Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, Pickett, and Dalton. Those are your quarterbacks.
That's Mac Jones. Yeah. He's saying that the guy he's trading to. But I mean, really, if you add Mariota into that, it's not exactly the murderer's row.
No, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Let him have his fun. He'll like you more and maybe trade with you more in the future. That's cool. My 14-team Superflex PPR. By the way, I've been going back through my values, and it strikes me. Some of them strike me. I'm making a video on one of them, but I was like, "That's crazy." That's anyway. And my 14-team Superflex PPR non-tight end premium will be Zach Wilson, Wentz, JT Chubb, Algier, Brian Robinson, G. Edwards? Who's G. Edwards?
Gus.
Gabriel Edwards?
The Gus Bus.
Gus Edwards. Jamar Chase, Elijah Moore, Jameson. Sorry, I got tired halfway through reading this roster.
It's a young receiver core. Yeah, I mean, like you're close to a contender. Yeah, I think so.
You're not top 3.
But I mean, it's 14-team, Peter.
That's fair. I think a top 6 more than top 3 still, though. Like, you got one stud. Chubb is in that category, but in Dynasty, starting not to where he's not now. And then you've got a law, and then Chase. You gotta
hope that your receivers. You gotta hope that one of these, either Elijah Moore, London, or Dotson, or 2 of them hit to be really solid.
For me, if this is my roster, I'm looking at it and go, I got 2 really high valued players and Elijah Moore. That's cool. And then a lot of hope. And that's not the roster I want to overestimate myself on.
Right.
If you know what I mean. You're good. You're young. You got value. It's great. But don't assume you're walking into the final right now. Even in a 14-team league, man. Unless all your teammates are in the same situation. Alan Davis, good evening from the finally rainy north of Houston area. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. It has done nothing but rain in Kentucky for about a year. At least where I'm at, every day I hear, like, everyone around here's got a garden or crops to feed themselves, and most of them have died from rain, essentially.
Oh, see, we need to.
It's actually a problem.
We need to work something out because I've had to water. I've had to water my garden twice a day.
Yeah, exactly. We're having the opposite problem. I mean, half our little area is underwater, like literally, so I can't complain, and the rest of us are just rained out. I live on like a little peninsula, though. Like, it'd be hard for it. I get water in my basement, but it'd be hard for us to suffer flooding, technically, if you know what I mean. Tacit Assassin says, Coop, I couldn't wait for the show. Take those 2 firsts for Pickens. Okay.
Yeah, I got excited. I was like, I saw that he was in the chat at like 7:30. I was like, I need to do this. We need to.
Whoa. Some things are more important. Zach Harris, good evening. Dynasty Superflex 1 point PPR. Pickens or Doxson and a 23 random third.
I still want Pickens by quite a sight.
Yeah, like a third isn't enough. That'd be trading down 6 spots for me in the first round. I'm not doing that for a third.
I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past couple of weeks, but like I am getting more interested in Dotson the way he's being utilized so far in camp out of the slot. But it still doesn't make me want to trade Pickens for him.
See, for me, because of what I think of Dotson, he's someone who might see a value spike. He's not someone I can see myself wanting on my roster in 3 years or even 2 years. So, I generally avoid unless it's something great.
But he's become a player that I just kind of shrug and go past to a player that in the back end of the first round in a 22 rookie draft I might take. Like that's the difference.
That's the thing. He's in the shrug. He's okay. Maybe I'm underestimating him category. But if it's about what I think, so there's a trade on the block, then right now I don't think he's nearly interesting enough for me to target this way. And another guy, I heard a guy got 223 first for Pickens. So hold out, man. Hold out. First time in, but enjoy the hell out of the content. Thanks, man. Appreciate that, Joey. 12 team start 11 Superflex. Good team offering 323 first. That's probably it. For Kyler. Wait. For Kyler.
Right. So he's saying
and
that
the bad team is offering
So he's got a good team offering him 3 first for Kyler and a bad team offering him Javonte and a first.
Got it. Superflex. I just gotta take the Kyler side.
Yeah, I'd probably stick with Kyler too. I mean, like three first is like the theoretical asking price for Kyler, but if your team is, if you have any pieces, you want Kyler.
I mean, I get it. Some people are down on Kyler right now. Everyone is up on Javonte right now. But I mean, it's not. I'm not going to galaxy brain. Well, that first is going to be worth that. So I'll just take Kyler on the first.
No, Kyler, period.
Kyler,
so I think he's got Kyler already. Joey's got Kyler.
Yes.
And then the two offers are. Yeah.
You know what I meant? Paul Cicero, what kind of PPR numbers do you think Robert Woods will put up? Marvin Jones-esque? I don't know.
If he's healthy, he's a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside.
Yeah, I have projections out there, but I don't think I'll be plugging Woods in unless I'm in desperation.
I like the average of 13.12 points per week. Eric is trying to like slide Robert Woods in a trade to Paul. I think that's what's going on.
Is there any hope for Brian Edwards? I mean, there's always hope, man. Actually, I'm trying to get that out of my vocabulary. You can hope as much as you want, but it's got nothing to do with what I'll do in Dynasty. Right. I don't hope at all. I think in terms of likely and range of outcomes. And then for my own fun, like Rondell Moore should be a bust, but I still got hope. It's just having no effect about what I'll do in Dynasty.
Right.
And I will take some shots on players like that just because I don't know. And there's always 30% of breakouts that don't show any signal. And it's reality, not a numbers graph, So, but like, no, players don't break out this late into their career, especially when having done this little. Like he was a bust after his rookie year, and I would have to see something drastic to think, oh, look, an unusual event, and he's done nothing to expect an unusual event. Right. I was just wrong. I think I was thinking about this earlier. There was another question I was reading through the thread on Twitter, and I was like, a lot of hay can be made just by recognizing you're wrong and then just being wrong. It's like, I was wrong about Brian Edwards. But if you just accept that, then you get to be right about him forever afterwards. And people, like, that's the important thing. Getting it right as soon as possible is the goal,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can understand why you wouldn't want to leave him sit on the waiver wire, but I just That's about it.
Yeah, he's a back end of the roster. If there aren't any running backs on your waiver wire who could, do something this year. But
he's entering his third career year. I think at this point, if I'm going to put numbers on it, I guess I should. Let's see, 20. There's probably about 50 to 55% of all like top 24 breakouts have happened by now,
right.
And of the ones still left to happen, 70% have already finished inside the top 36 already. So that's the kind of thin margins you're looking at. It's like 30% group of a 50% group. It's not great.
No.
Was there ever hope for Brian Edwards? Fair point. Yeah, I actually kind of liked him. I did see, people were graphing. I shouldn't have done those graphs, by the way, because they're increasingly common. And if two lines are fairly close together, people think it means something. I'm like, no. Like, you actually have to look at the relationship of the numbers. And Brian Edwards could have been more different than Traylon Burks, but someone was putting the dots next to each other, and because they weren't miles apart, it's like, no, that's the point. Most good college players operate within that range. You're looking for ones that distance themselves specifically in a certain way at best. But yeah, I thought there was a lot of hope for Edwards, but not after his first season. Like, it was gone. Hi everyone. Hi Joe.
Hey Joe.
Appreciate it. Cecil, I appreciate you letting us know you're here, Joe. That's cool. 12-team Superflex start 10. Carson Wentz on a 23 second or a 24 first. It's time to trade into 2024, isn't it?
It's the quarterback in a Superflex. It's still Wentz. I mean, I know that it's not fun. It's not sexy at all, but it's still the quarterback in Superflex. I think Wentz is worth a little more than a first, and a 24 first is really about even with that 23 second right now.
This is
in terms of the way we think about value.
This is like the Mariota thing to me. It leans Wentz in value because he's a super flex quarterback, but like, it's really hard to fish for that value of the just startable quarterbacks. Like, this is always my objection to John Bosch and John Hogue and even Dynasty Outhouse sometimes. Like, that's true, but there's only so many people in your league who are actually looking for just a startable quarterback.
Right.
And by the time you get to the end of the season, like, it's two people and they're not giving you what you want. So, like, I'll take the first over a second plus, unless you're really pushing and he's like, and if he's necessary to your roster, I don't think you're like a top 3 team in your league. So, yeah, I lean the first. I'll trade a second to a first, giving away a quarterback I probably won't be starting next year. But Zach is right. And the value probably leans Wentz. I just think it's hard to get a first for a quarterback like that. So, yeah. Sorry to split the vote there, but Joey Cheese X context. I have Mahomes, Herbert, Kyler, and Hurts.
Right. So that was the trade with the 3 firsts or Javonte in a first.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like, get the value. It doesn't matter what you have on your team. Although, if you're looking at the rest of your team and you're not competitive, trading Kyler and getting 3 firsts is a good way to get competitive if you still have Mahomes and Herbert.
Just get the 3 firsts and draft 3 running backs who will be ranked over Javonte next year. It's fine. It is that time where we start to have to recognize, I think, if we're trying to be in advance, that like a lot of running backs are going to be ranked over a lot of the running backs we're drafting right now next year, because we're going to be all about 23 rookies.
Yeah, I mean, there'll probably be 2 or 3 that end up in the top 12.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be my guess. Is there going to be 2 or 3 running backs that end up in the top 12 running backs?
I don't even know who's in the class. It just seems to be the way we're flowing right now. Running backs in a down spiral. We're projecting if this young running back does something, he'll be great. Just all feels like we're due for some new talent. Cecil, 12 teams for flex, 10 point start 10 PPR. Would you trade Tyler Boyd? Yeah, probably for a second. Yeah, probably. For Allen. Oh, yeah, for Allen Robinson. Yeah. Second and Boyd for Robinson. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Amari Cooper today. He's drafted above, like, significantly, like 10 positional spots above Brandon Cooks and Allen Robinson right now. which seems backwards. Like, he seems more like those two. But everyone says that Cooks and Al Robinson are too low drafted, but they don't like Amari.
But nobody
Cooper.
wants to draft them. Yeah.
If we were drafting him where we were drafting Amari Cooper, we wouldn't like them. I'm like, yeah, people just they want to say something there. It doesn't matter if they're wrong. But if they're right, they sound like they make a strong stance. If you know what I mean? I'm like, if you like Robinson and Cooks, you should be fine with Amari Cooper's ADP at least. It made me wonder if maybe Amari Cooper is easy to trade for in a similar situation, probably just as likely to be still as good as he's ever been. But that's kind of big braining it. It was interesting. Team A, ETN and the 110.
We need Team B. What's Team B?
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Team A, ETN, the 110, or Team B, Elijah Moore and a rookie 107.
Oh, Team A, ETN.
Which side? So. Team A, Team B, I guess. ETN, the 110.
Oh, he's saying that he's Team A?
I don't know. I don't know if this is choose which team you want, or here are the two players on two random teams in my league, or you know what I mean?
Yep. Well, so basically, would you rather have ETN or Moore? Is the question. See, and I think I would take if I have an active league, I'll take ETN right now and you can trade him for Moore plus. Like I or maybe not Moore plus, because obviously this trade.
Well, you won't, because you'll be trading him to someone who thinks differently. But
yeah.
Yep. Is Team Moore.
And the 110 and 107, that doesn't really matter to me. I'm gonna get somebody I like there because, well, it used to be George Pickens would fall, so now probably Treylon Burks falls to the 107, and I'm still getting David Bell at the 110. So
I think I need my projections up with all these questions coming at me. Will Davis Mills be a good fantasy quarterback? Good? Mm-hmm.
No, he'll be a replacement.
He'll be fine.
Yeah,
he'll be fine. Let's see.
And will he get replaced by a high draft pick? It depends on how high Houston's draft pick is next year. Like I think that's the thing.
Yeah. I think Davis Mills is in the Mariota category. Like, he's startable in a super flex, probably. You know?
Yep.
Wide receiver, quarterback 25 to 30. You know? I think he's slightly underrated in terms of finding a starter in, like, Scott Fishbowl. But if we're playing Dynasty, I don't think he's anywhere near likely to become one of those guys in the top 12. So it just becomes a big shrug after that point. And kind of like quarterback, tight end, but there's a slightly bigger category of players that we like. 10-team Superflex Dynasty, full PPR, no tight end premium. Start 9. I traded Justin Fields. I get back a 23 first and Miles Sanders. I mean, again, this is another Fields feels icky, but he probably wins in value. But I don't hate it, I guess.
Yeah. And Peter, I think you're right. This is kind of a shrug trade. Like it's pretty even to me. And if you're sitting there saying I'm thinking of holding Fields, I don't think that's a bad decision. The one thing I will say, the one caveat on Fields is if he's not good again this year, his value is going to go way down. I mean, think about it was 4 years ago. Carson Wentz came in and was the dynasty quarterback one.
Excuse me.
Right, Carson Wentz came in was the QB one in all of dynasty because he had a good rookie year, and now I'll have to scroll down to find where he is in Superflex. He is the quarterback. Still scrolling. 28. So. Again, Justin Fields right now has value, but if he has another down year, that rope gets shorter in terms of the dynasty community being in on him. So that would be my hesitation in keeping Fields. You know, the 23 first is going to go up in value. Trade Miles Sanders as soon as you get him if you do take this deal.
It feels to me someone's trying to take advantage of you with the 23 first. Like, here's a shiny thing where you take it for something good. And honestly, you should get more than that for Fields. That's what I'd say. Like, Miles Sanders isn't an interesting chaser. He's
Right.
a top 24 running back. It's fine.
Right.
That's a little undervalued by the market, which means we're also throwing you a player with less value than he should have. So it feels like, no, counter for 2 firsts. Then I'm interested, man. Don't try and cheat me out of value here. Like, give me something actually interesting, or you know. But that's me. Bazaltzberg, you were correct. We went over this. Come on now. James Flatley, my other quarterbacks are Josh Allen. Is this like the bumper sticker? My other car is a Humvee or something.
My other quarterback is Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, Goff, Daniel Jones.
He's saying trading Fields. He's got Allen and Goff.
Yeah.
But again, it matters what you have on your team, but it doesn't matter on what you have on your team in terms of the value you're getting. It allows you the ability to trade him, but you still want to get value for Justin Fields.
You're not getting the right value, and you're getting a 23 first, which is interesting, but not nearly interesting enough by itself. It's like it's just not. There's nothing there. Like, I would counter because it's a good start, but it's not a trade I would snap accept or anything. Is Jono Smith worth a stash? I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, he's one of the quarterbacks who can become one of those.
I think the Patriots.
Startable.
The Patriots are going to be not great again. They're not going to be very good. Their offense is not going to be very good.
They're fine.
I mean, whatever. He's an athletic tight end who's
Hunter Henry is the guy you want of the two. Again, like we had this debate last offseason, and it was probably Hunter Henry, and then it was Hunter Henry, and now it's still Hunter Henry. Like, I don't know if you've got Jono Smith or you're deciding between the two, but Jono Smith at this point is trying to be wrong after you already know the answer. In my opinion, I mean, weird shit happens, and Jono Smith is an athletic, originally a good prospect, but like this. That's where we're at. It's Henry now. It's not maybe. It is Henry, unless something unusual happens. So I'd need value to even consider it. 12-team tight end premium superflex start 10. Pitts and David Bell, or Lawrence and Etienne. Pitts and David Bell.
See, and it's probably the value is on the other side of that, Peter.
Yeah. It's point season. I'm willing to throw away a little value at this point. And I think this time next off season, I think the value is Pitts and David Bell. Like, that's where I go that way.
Yeah, I think
if you're talking about starting a roster, Lawrence and Etienne is a lot better.
But I would rather have Pitts and David Bell on my team. I would rather have the trade chips of Lawrence and Etienne. How about that? Like that?
Yeah,
like, I think I could get more for Lawrence and Etienne, even if I split them up, than I could for Pitts and David Bell.
That's true.
But if I'm building my team,
I operate the way I operate. Order 66 Jedi reference, right? And I want Pitts and David Bell on my team, and I'm not interested in Lawrence and Etienne on my team. You are not getting enough value. If you're offering this trade, I would throw a pick on the end of it to make it even and fair for yourself. But if I'm getting offered this, I'm strongly tempted to take it. This is a get your guys moment for me. Those are two players I would add, and I would give up value for it. But if you're asking me what a trade calculator would say, if in a year it goes wrong, you probably should have taken Lawrence and Etienne. That's what ADP, that's what a trade calculator would tell you.
Yeah.
I'm about adding the players I think everyone else is wrong on, and so I'd go the other way. But Zach's right. You should probably take the Lawrence Etienne side. It just won't. Like, if was similar value play, if this was Mark Andrews and Jahan Dotson, I'd be like, no, easy Lawrence and Etienne. I think Bell and Pitts, well, Pitts not so much, but I think Bell's mismanaged, misvalued by the market. And honestly, Pitts is so highly valued by consensus. I'm not so sure the value is on the Lawrence side.
So here, let me tell you a secret, Peter.
Pitts walks away with this.
Lawrence and Bell are going within 4 spots of each other. I mean, Lawrence and Pitts are going within 4 spots of each other in ADP in Superflex. Okay, and
That's
Bell
just because
and
Lawrence is too high, though. To be fair.
well, but that doesn't. So, but it doesn't matter what you think or what I think. It matters what people in their
Yeah.
league, in Order 66's league, thinks.
When we're talking about value, yeah.
And ETN and Bell, like, there's no question. ETN is the running back 13 right now, and yes, we've been beating this drum of Lawrence and ETN are more highly valued by the community than we value them. But that doesn't mean that the community doesn't value them highly. Like, just because we're sitting there going, we think we can outsmart the community.
No, but at some point, I like, especially if it's the players that I like, I'm not waiting a year from now, finding out I'm right and going, well, it was okay. I didn't go with what I said, what I thought.
If I take
value is wrong.
If I take David Bell out of it and I say it's Lawrence and ETN for Pitts and the 205 in this class.
Isn't that what I just did, though? I said if this is Mark Andrews and Jahan Dotson, I would say no.
Yeah.
So what I would want to do is I want to add to that side, but if I can't, then I'm going to go with what I think.
Or just go, like,
ultimately.
Yeah, or go get David Bell with something else that's not giving up.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're giving up way too much value to get David Bell to make a my guy stand. Because
exactly.
you don't have to do that, because people aren't as excited about David Bell as we are, and you're not going to get the camp hype because he went on PUP or whatever for a little bit. So
yeah, that's what I meant about the context. Like, if you're thinking about offering this trade, I would put a pick on your side, and if you're being offered this, I would counter. Brandon Cooks and Miles Sanders or one late 23 first and late 23 seconds. Yeah, this is where not projecting late and early helps, but it doesn't matter too much. I would take the value. I would take the picks on this.
Yeah, and it matters a little bit whether you're competitive this year. If Cooks is going to get you over the hump, but yes, take the picks. Take the first, take the 2/3. It's fine.
Yeah. 12 team 1 QB 0.5 PPR. It doesn't matter to me too much. Yeah.
I mean, it moves the first down a little bit, but not whatever.
Have you ever moneyballed a team by using aggregate gain in your average weekly nerd? Freaking nerd. Weekly score by trading a stud for two not as high scoring players like Cup for Bateman and Higgins. I mean, no, I can't say I've ever ran my team that way.
It works better in a bigger, like a more team league. So if you're in a 10-team league doing that, you're not going to gain as much, and it also works better if you're in a start more.
I think you're basically describing the way you build. Like, if you don't have much, you constantly try to add, so you'll break stuff up. But if you're going the other direction, you almost are trying to do the opposite thing. If you're trying to win, you're like, let's consolidate for those studs. And the smaller the league, the more you're trying to do that. Like Zach said, between a 10 versus a 12-man league, 12 roster league. Godwin or McLaurin?
I want
Dynasty.
Godwin. I want Godwin. I know you've talked ill about Godwin all this whole week on the pod, but I still want Godwin over McLaurin.
I don't get it. I don't. I just take McLaurin. I think they have similar ranges of outcomes when healthy, and I think McLaurin's healthy, so I get an extra 6 games too. Like, I just take McLaurin. Yes, Godwin's finished inside the top 12. He was doing pretty well last year as well. I don't think he's that level.
I keep hearing you say, like, he's efficiency driven and not target driven, but he's had 2 seasons where, like, his 2 healthy seasons, he was over 120 targets.
Yeah, that's raw count, and that's the thing. It's just it was a high passing team. That's how he got there.
Well, I mean,
which is heavily situation dependent. If he's not driving enough volume from the offense, then he's entirely dependent on the offense for getting 120 targets. Like, where you drop DeAndre Hopkins in a different offense, he's still getting over 120 targets. It's like he just sucks up a higher percentage.
So what? So if you,
I don't know why I'm doing this.
If you went and looked at, so do you have? And you probably don't have this pulled up, but if I give you a little bit of time, like I'm being professional and letting you pull up Chris Godwin, could you give me like what his? I I don't know what it is, yards per team pass attempt, or like his target share or whatever it is in that offense.
Yeah.
Just from 2019, 2020, and 2021 in the games he played. Like, can you do that? Because like he's missed games. So like he's played 14, 12, and 14 the last 3 years, but he's had 121 targets and 127 targets in the two years that he played 14 games, which is like he's driving a big volume in the games that he plays. It just like I would hate to miss out on Godwin.
Right. I don't think you're missing out at this point. He's like in the 30s overall. And that's the other thing, Mr. Like value hawk there. Like this is just a value thing at a certain point. Let's see.
Well, but it's a 1-for-1, so it's not like it's a value thing, but like I want the better player, and I think the better player is Godwin.
Unless the better player is Pitts and ETN, Pitts and David Bell, apparently. I'm trying to see. I've got target share per game. I'm not sure which one's importing over here. No, that's raw target share. Well, this sucks.
That's all right. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. I was just curious because, like, it seems like to me that when he's playing and healthy, he sees a ton of targets, and especially on a team where like they're going to throw a ton again.
Yeah, target share per game. 2 years ago, so the last 3 years, he's had 21.6 target share per game, then 17.9, then 19.8. Like last year was his lowest, and that's again adjusted for the number of games he played. Again, he just seems like a really good wide receiver too, that on an offense that has been big. I don't think he's causing that bigness, if you know what I mean. He seems to have a lower role than most people expect. Let's see. He's good on it. I mean, he's never not been good. Again, he's a good player. He's never had less than like 1.8 yards per route run is a metric people love. See, I never know what I keep switching out the right statistics because everyone asks about something different because it's whichever one makes them sound better. But the one I like looking at is like expected points percentage, and that's again per game. That's how much of the overall fantasy point total that they're actually creating. The average for like a top 12 wide receiver is around 17%. Chris Godwin's never been there. He's had a 15% target share 2 years, 15% expected point share 2 years ago, and last year. And in the middle, you've got that year where he only plays however many 12 games. So I get it. Yeah. But again, that's more of like that's just not the role of a top 12 wide receiver. That's a really good second wide receiver who's on a very productive offense. That's what I see with Chris Godwin. I mean, he's incredibly good, but I mean, you take Tom Brady out and give him Jameson Williams or one of those replacement quarterbacks.
I mean, that's who he had. I mean, like that's literally what he had. He had Jameis Winston 2 years or 3 years ago. Like that's what he did.
Yeah. With an extreme amount of efficiency again, like.
But he's being efficient with an inefficient quarterback. Like to me,
I'm not saying he's not good, but again, if you want volume, it's not Godwin. You've got efficiency with volume 2 years ago. That's what you're saying, and that's all I'm saying. Like he was efficient when we liked him, so it's not the volume; it's the efficiency. I don't know. Like I don't even watch the guy play, Zach. What do I know? But I can tell you that was efficiency, not volume. Because he was efficient on those whatever it was, 120 targets. Did you say?
Yeah. But even last year, he was a top 10.
Yeah,
like
top 14. But I'm doing all 17. So
okay,
top 6 in points per game.
Oh yeah, you do all like the okay.
Flex rank 23. That's impressive for a wide receiver. Again, he's an impressive guy.
I want Godwin, Sean. Peter wants McLaurin, which means you have to go for gelato. Pay with cash, get the coin, flip it. There you go.
I'm looking up Chris Godwin. I'm like, is he much different? Terry McLaurin. I mean, he's had about the same expected points share as Chris Godwin in his best year, but he's had it all 3 years. It's like a good player on a bad team and a good player on a good team. And one has co-opted a larger target share or a larger share of the offense, should I say. You got to read the situation, but I think they're fairly.
I still want Godwin. SU, I want James Robinson over Zamir White too.
Oh yeah.
This is one we can agree on.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a bit of who cares, but James Robinson, kind of a value right now. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I heard that he was at practice. Yeah, I know. That's wild. I will effort that. I will look that up, but
all right.
I'm pretty sure I heard
White, I hear his name more than I should for a okay prospect. It feels like people are grasping at straws when you get to Zamir White. Whereas Robinson, at least we've seen he can do that. He's fine.
James Robinson was at practice taking first team reps. Welcome back, buddy.
If you want a good Italian restaurant while you're in town, Luigi's, in Akron, 25 minutes from Canton is awesome. Only takes cash though. Hopefully, we'll be at the expo, but I'm recovering from COVID. Well, I hope you recover soon, Randy. I'm not driving extra. I'll crash. Yeah. I can just feel it. Someone's gonna crash into me.
It's gonna be walk across the street from my hotel and go to Samantha's downtown.
I'm a guy who would not leave my house if I didn't have to earn money. But I appreciate it, man. And I do like food. So yeah. Eric, assuming you're in a fantasy leagues together, which of you both finish higher? Oh, probably Zach.
We'll leave that to the imagination. I don't need to talk smack. we won't divulge that.
No, it's probably Zach. The only league we're in together, I think, is that no-name league where I've sucked it up the last 2 years. So, right?
Yeah, I think that's the only league we're in.
It's too bad. It's the only one quarterback league I have left as well. Might be it. I don't know if that's relevant, but yeah. I do have T. Higgins, and trying to build in that league and find someone to value T. Higgins has been difficult. Sorry, AJ Brown or Elijah Moore? AJ Dillon or Elijah Moore? Oh, that's awkward. It's Elijah Moore, but
it is Elijah Moore. Man, there's a crazy world that we could be living in next year where AJ Dillon is worth a ton.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why it's weird. It's like I could understand this trade if we're in 6 months and he's just about to get the job.
Yeah.
There's that weird part of a player's value where I'm higher on AJ Dillon than most, and I'm so high on Elijah Moore that I'm low on him because did you hear that part of my podcast? Ryan McDowell has Elijah Moore wide receiver 14. You just can't get high on him at that point.
Yeah,
it's impossible. So it's weird. And then you got the positional value of the potential of AJ Dillon. So. I know I'm trying to get AJ Dillon, but I'm trying not to give up someone like Elijah Moore to do it. Sorry, Phil. Yeah. If I could get it, my default answer is Gabe Davis. Tempt him. Half point PPR as well. Yeah, I could understand why that's probably.
You just start quote tweeting PFF at whoever it is, all the Gabe Davis love, and then you might get there with Davis for more. Or Dillon.
You want Dillon, but this is unfair in value. That's how you go about it. You should say, all right, give me a second with
Dillon and a second.
First with Dillon, and then it's a fair trade. Because right now they're not giving you enough. And you want the Dillon side, I guess, probably as we approach the season, the Dillon side is the one you want. But you can't give it up for that value. Sean, when do you get a QB3? Interesting question. Do you like grabbing Carr Cousins before you fill out some of your roster, or draft them, or try to trade for them? I tend to way overvalue the second round of quarterbacks. So I have 7 quarterbacks ranked as in the top tier. That's not actually my tier, but I take quarterback 7 before most people will take their quarterback 5. And then there's a big gap, and then I go hard in for the second tier. So I tend to take 2 quarterbacks back to back around, what would that be? Around What round is it that those quarterbacks start to go off the board? Come on, Pete. Yeah, it's round 8, 7, 8. That's when the second round of quarterback starts to go, and I tend to grab 2 right there. That's where my 3 quarterbacks come from. If I don't get one of those first 7 quarterbacks, I might end up grabbing my 1 or 2 round 7 and 8, and then I'll grab a couple extra down low, like there might be a Mills or a Mariota swirling the drain towards the bottom, as a general rule.
I find this very presumptuous, Sean, that you think I am going to draft 2 quarterbacks, and that I will have a third, because like I am notorious for not caring about quarterbacks in Superflex, even though you probably should. I find that if I get a good solid like top 5 quarterback, then I don't worry too much about my second or third quarterback, because I can always fill in with either somebody who's playing like what Peter said, the Mariota, Mason Rudolph, that whatever, or I can flex an actual player, like a position player, in that super flex spot and get, if you have a bad QB2, and not saying that Cousins and Carr are, because Cousins and Carr are legit quarterback 2s, I think.
Yeah, that's a high value quarterback.
But depending on my league, like if quarterbacks are coming off the board early, I'll take one early. Get one of those top 5, or actually, I guess they're probably like 8. We decided that we really like down to
like Cousins of Carr is like a round 3 startup.
Yeah,
by the way,
but
it's high.
But if quarterbacks are coming off the board quickly in my league, I'm going to get one of those top 8, and then I'm just going to hammer position players and use. If I'm in a bunch of leagues where Dynasty Outhouse, where Russ commissions, and his premium on tight ends is 1.75. And so what I'll end up doing is getting 2 of Pitts, Kittle, Andrews, Kelsey, Waller. So I'll have 2 of those 5, and one of those will be my backup quarterback, but I got them in like round 5. And so what, that they'll be my super flex, but I'm flexing a tight end because they're going to score what more than a bad quarterback will, and it'd be more consistent.
Yeah, I take quarterback very similar to what Zach's describing. I just go the other way about it. I'm going to try and grab lower value quarterbacks because they're never quarterbacks are never cheaper than a startup, and then I'm going to try and find the guy in my league who thinks that's valuable. What I keep trying to convince John Hogue is, if your team is dependent on, Jared Goff is too low. That's a typical guy I'll pick up in the 7th or 9th, or Matt Ryan is too low. Ryan Tannehill. Like, if you need that to win, then you're not winning.
Right.
But they're fine quarterbacks to start if you're winning somewhere else.
Yep.
So yeah, I try and grab a little extra of those so I can trade it to the other guys who don't realize that. Honestly, it's been fairly useful. Again, it's trading Mariota for something that actually might have more use. And he might not be starting next year, for example. David Mills, that kind of thing. Joel A, or trying to find the next David Mills, actually. 12 teams will flex Devontae Adams for Josh Jacobs and a 23 first. I guess the first is the thing, right?
Yeah. Jacobs doesn't have very much value. We talked about this before the show, but like the Raiders did Josh Jacobs
dirty.
A little bit dirty, in the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, where they basically said, you're going to play the whole first quarter with our third team and have fun. I do think it's the first, but if you're a competing team, it's Adams. I think Adams is going to score this year. I think he's going to score next year, but he's not going to have any value. So it depends on where you are as a team.
I'm not trading Adams away from that. So yeah, I'm probably leaning on towards the Adams side here. Like, again, it's kind of see what you can get for a cheeky 23 first right now, and people wanting to overpay. Like, yeah, it's Adams for me. Most situations, or all situations. What would you pay for Burks and Dynasty, the 101 in a rookie draft? in this year's rookie draft.
102. I'm going 102, but yeah.
Well, that's fair. Brees Hall. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I've even forgotten the rookies. Yeah, the 102 and whatever that translates to in value, that's fine. To be serious about it, because I think most rookie drafts have happened. Mine certainly have. You can't trade him for a single 23 first, especially with all this bad news. His value's meant to go down. Anyone that's got Burks on the roster probably isn't letting him go for what he should trade for, based on the fact we've come low on him for no good reason right now, or lowered on him. I think even before that, like, he was falling a little bit in rookie drafts last time I checked.
Yep.
Do you have an actual player you would trade up for?
Well, and he said he offered in the next message in the chat. Zach says that he offered Dotson and a second, and it got rejected. How much higher would you go? And I would not go to a 23 first for Burks.
And it's not because a first is wrong. A 23 first is wrong. Like, add a 24 first. I'd do that.
Yep. Yeah. Throw a 24 first.
I know that's crazy, but we know we're going to get the value out of other people, whether we should or shouldn't. So you kind of have to account for it. He's in the same range as Josh Jacobs. I would sure trade Josh Jacobs for him. Yeah. That's what I'd do. I'd add a 24 first. See what happens. He asked us this twice, by the way. So sorry for being late there, bud. Byronic, I will take it. 10-team Superflex startup. Should I trade a 302 projected to be pick for a projected late 23 first and 24 first? So AJ Brown for 2 first, we think, but it's a pick, so it's not quite AJ Brown. Good point. No, that seems too low. No.
For
like
AJ
302 Brown, for 2 rookie firsts, that seems too low. Like a third round startup pick? No.
Yeah, I don't want to. So in a startup, I don't necessarily want to trade my pick for draft picks. I want to trade my pick and move down and gain draft.
Yeah.
That's
like if this was a 302 for the 5 and a 23 first, I would think it's more interesting. Like,
that's what I would rather do.
Yep. Rather than yeah. But it's not terrible. But
it's not egregious by any stretch.
My bad gents. Oh, thank you, Joey. I think. I smoked way too much and did an awful job typing out. Enjoy the stream. Sorry, man. I think we read it fine.
We got there, Joey. No worries.
You're good. Brendan, Brees, Fairmouth, and a 24 second for a 24 first and Pitts. Nah. Fairmouth and Hall here, please.
Yeah, especially in no premium.
This is one of the things, like, you can't get, like, when John and Bob start talking about Pitt's value, you feel like it's infinite. Here's the thing, once you ramp a player's value up so high before they even touch the field, there's always, like, it can't get any higher, and this is the kind of trade you get. And I'd just take Fairmouth and Brees Hall plus a second, whatever it is. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's pretty even, but again, with the no tight end premium, like, Pitts is a good tight end, but not separating himself. I think what's going to separate Pitts, especially in tight end premium, is he should see a ton of volume. He saw a lot last year. He should see more this year.
He should catch more than 1 touchdown. That would be it. Yeah. But, like, yeah, give me Hall and Fairmouth.
No.
Kenneth Walker enough to tear down from no, that's one hell of a tear down. That's wow. Yeah. That's a hard change. You're going straight from 5th to 2nd there, my man. Don't do that. Joey. And back to the Kyler trade. My main context is the guy offering me 3 firsts is my biggest competition. Team is loaded, but he is QB away. No, yeah, just don't worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
he's not a quarterback away.
Well, he might be, but I still don't like. I don't worry about that. I'm worried about making my team better, because if like that's all you can worry about, and there's no guarantee that his team is going to be good next year or the year after, or or your team is going to be.
I would take this. Here's big braining it. Take this because then he doesn't have 3 firsts to get a better quarterback with. Like he's projecting like he's one quarterback away before we see it. Like he's trying to fill out his roster before the season is here, and you don't. What does Dynasty House tell us? You don't have team needs in the off season. It's the same thing. He might, but he's probably going to get to week 6 and find he needs more than just that one quarterback. But he's already given away 3 firsts. If he was to add those 3 firsts.
This was the one that we were a little hesitant, though, to part with Kyler. I mean, like we said, 3 firsts is probably the value, but
yeah, no, just take 3 firsts because Kyler's a great quarterback. I like him a lot. I think I have him in the top 5, and not everyone does. But like, do it before he figures out he might actually be able to get Lamar Jackson for 3 firsts plus something, or Mahomes or Allen, who's falling right now because some people are worried about his rushing. Like those would be bigger problems for you, and 3 firsts is the kind of value you need to get it done. So give him Kyle if you want a big brain a little bit. 10-team PPR. Would you trade 23 firsts for a running back, or wait and draft one next year? I mean, it depends on the running back. It's the honest answer.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm trading a 23 first, wow, what running backs are you looking for, Peter?
I liked your term last time. Is you need hellacious value. So yeah that's.
I'm like you need to be getting back somebody like Harris but you're not going to get that. Like you're not going to get that done. Harris or Williams.
You're not getting Taylor. You're not getting McCaffrey. You're not getting Swift, Harris, Javonte Williams, Barkley. Barkley's not going for a single first. If you can, do that. Next is like, what is it? Derrick Henry, Eckler, and that's,
which you don't want to pay a first. You don't want to pay a first for them because they're a year or two. Like if we're talking dynasty, like their value is going to be gone.
Exactly. So, and you don't trade first in dynasty that way around. Would you do it for Breece Hall? Similar range. That's the only one that seemed like a good both side of the trade win.
I am going to stick to my guns and say I'd rather have the first. But that's been kind of my line of demarcation is where I see Breece Hall. That's where I put the firsts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
that's what I'm gonna see. Yeah, I get you. I think that's fair. Like just the general advice of we don't know your league. If someone in your league's crazy enough to give you Taylor, McCaffrey, Swift, Harris, Williams, Barkley for a first, that's 7 running backs, and by all means do it. If not, the only one we think that might get that value, according to ADP, is like Breece Hall. Zach says no, and
I don't mind. I'm like I
think
wouldn't
about
fight you on it. Yeah, I wouldn't fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's right on that line. But there's not many that it's definitely, because the ones that are definitely going to get you the points are definitely going to lose value, and the ones that aren't going to lose value, they're probably pretty equal to running backs from next year's class. So. Really truther. Yo, guys, haven't caught you live in a minute. What's the with the season coming? Who's one running back you see making top 12 jump or breaking out? Oh, nice. And one you see falling by the end of the season. Yeah, if I just call that who's going to break out and who's going to not, it's a little easier. Who's going to finish?
The easiest breakout would be ETN.
Hall. ETN. I think Hall's even easier.
Yep.
If you're looking for someone at value who could, I'm not saying will or should, but it could, and I think his value is good for it right now. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I know that's weird. And
Dylan could be the guy too.
And then it's Dylan. I mean, two I think I have on that list.
Still think it's Aaron Jones this year, but there is a way that it is AJ Dillon. Into the top 12 this year, and one you see falling by the end of the season?
See, this year for running back should be more repeats than it should be breakouts, just based on the pattern of the last few years. So we're not expecting a lot more breakouts than we've had, but we do see some every year. As far as predictable ones go, I just did like shows and videos on this, and I'm having trouble remembering the names I spat out. Let me see. And this is in my projection sheet. So where are those breakouts? Running backs. Most likely running back breakouts right now. And off the top of my head, I'm thinking Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then A.J. Dillon. Now, obviously, the first ones are just already valued there, so there's not much there, which is why I start out with Clyde, then go to Dillon, then Elijah Mitchell. Those are the three that I think are the ones I would pay for at their value for the potential. And as far as who I think is going to fall out, we should have a lot of repeats this year. But if I'm going to bet against one, outside of injury, Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, but is he really top 12? Like that's
last year, but yeah,
like he's and to me it'll be interesting to see what the Minnesota offense looks like now that they're not committing to grinding teams down with the run.
Right.
And not that Dalvin Cook is a bad pass catcher, because I think he's fantastic, but that's the one guy that I look at that both in terms of dynasty value and in terms of top 12, you could see him sliding.
Yeah. Top 12 running backs right now, who sticks out to me? Cook's an interesting one because I haven't had anything negative or positive. I can talk more in terms of value here. I can see a bunch that I expect their value to drop.
Yeah. Henry Eckler, all of anybody you see that has a 26, 27, or 28 in the age column, the value is probably dropping.
Eckler's in there too, but he's undermentioned in that category.
Yep.
So yeah, what did we come up with? We came up with names. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, AJ Dillon, and Elijah Mitchell are the three most likely, I think, to break in. Yep. The ones that I'm the most concerned about in the top 12 right now is like Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon. Antonio Gibson isn't ranked there, but he finished there last year.
The community has gone way low on Gibson. Like he's going down. Nick Chubb. Yeah.
Just because of the value. Did you say Mixon's value is coming down? All I hear is positive stuff.
No. Gibson's value is
Gibson. Way down. Oh, right.
Yeah.
They catch up eventually, don't they?
I mean, like he and James Conner are going in the same area. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like his value's gone way down.
Sean, and a startup, Lamar, Dak, Lamb, AJ Brown, Waddle, Godwin, Henry, Kamara. Thoughts? I hate this question. Like,
nice, good work.
Yeah, that's I like those players. Kamara is actually one of the more interesting values for me at running back. Just throw
if
that.
If it's a super flex, you may want a second quarterback at some point, unless you're me, and then Derrick Henry is your QB2.
You've got Jalen Waddle. Yeah, we're good here. Hey, Joe.
Yes,
Stevens
saw that.
Back. That's fair. I don't. Yeah.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm having trouble coalescing my thoughts into one sentence. Like, I'm neither high nor low on Ramondre Stevenson. That's a problem. I think hype has lifted him up, but there's actually a reasonable reason to like him. So he's net neutral to me.
But here's the thing, though, with all that. If he becomes the lead back in New England, when was the last lead back in New England that you wanted on your fantasy team? I'll give you a hint. It was James White, who wasn't actually the lead back.
And he's back on the Patriots, if my memory serves.
Yeah.
Damon Harris on the trade block, reportedly. Yeah, it's just New England players, man. Never trust them. Joe says hi to Joe, which I think is meta. James Flatley, thank you for the great advice and feedback. I don't know how great it is, but you are welcome for the thoughts.
We appreciate you, James. Yeah.
We're trying our best. Zach, how are we feeling about Breece Hall?
I think he's a good.
That's it.
He's a good player.
I think he's good. He's the best prospect. He's a one-on-one in rookie draft.
But thinking about trading him for a 23 first plus, yes, if you can get a first plus, yeah. And if you can get a first, I could be convinced to do that. I could go either way on Breece Hall. Like I said, that's my line of demarcation. When I look in a ADP, I go find Breece Hall. And that's where I think the 23 firsts should be.
Nice. Where is that, actually? It's like 34th overall right now in Superflex.
Yeah.
That's where Breece Hall goes. Traded Terrence Marshall for Trevor Lawrence, 1 QB. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, who cares about quarterbacks?
If he becomes anything, you win. If he doesn't, then you didn't lose.
Yeah. 12-team 1-point PPR league. Superflex tight end premium 2-point. Start 10. I don't know why I read that so weird. Cousins, Zeke, Judy, or DK, Danny Dimes. Ooh, that's rough. And a 23 first.
I think I want Cousins, Zeke, Judy.
Cousins side.
Yep.
Cousins alone on that side. Yeah, Cousins side.
Daniel Jones doesn't do anything. Zeke is going to score your points this year. Judy, we're hoping, he feels like he's a back-end wide receiver too, which is not a bad thing to have.
It feels like DK or a first for Cousins, Zeke, and Judy, and I just take the players at that point. So I think they're better.
You got me all excited with the 2 tight end premium, though. I thought we were going to get a tight end in there, and it didn't happen. We were like 2 tight end premium wide receivers.
Bozaltsberg's got a trade. Faramuth, receive rookie 112 or no tight end premium Superflex. Would leave me with commit as my starter.
Depends on who's there at the 112 for me.
I was recently looking up Pat Faramuth. The DLF trade calculator has his value around about a 2nd round pick, which is just stupid. His ADP has fallen since the season. I know. I mean, it's just stupid. I take Faramuth all day of the 112. Like at the 112, I'm starting to think maybe Trey McBride, and I would kill if Trey McBride could have a season like Pat Faramuth has already had. Like I would kill to see that. Not literally. Well,
what about if David Bell's there, Peter? David Bell or Fryermuth?
That's the thing. The pick has more value. But again, that's valuing Faramuth as a 2nd. I'm going to take Faramuth, and I'll try and trade something else for that 2nd.
Yeah.
Faramuth should be worth more than he is. The value's wrong on this one. I don't care if I have to pay out a value. I don't. It's my team.
I think it's closer than I'm making it seem, but I still probably take the 112.
Faramuth's value is wrong. That's what's wrong. That's why this trade is hard to answer. It's the only reason.
No, because tight ends don't actually matter unless you have one of the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, Peter. We can bet a nice glass of ice water at a restaurant this weekend or next year at the Expo. I will bet that Fryermuth does not have the touchdowns that he did this year.
Sure.
I think there is touchdown regression there, which leads me to believe that he's not going to be as exciting as people think.
Sure. He shouldn't get touchdowns at the same rate, but he could get more touchdowns. He got 79 targets on offense with Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool.
And Ben Roethlisberger running the offense. Pittsburgh may not score 7 touchdowns this year.
As a rookie tight end, it's crazy. I think you're all insane. Kyle Pitts is the best dynasty asset ever, but this other tight end who had the 2nd best rookie tight end ever, he sucks because he had high level of touchdown. Being efficient is bad because it should regress, but being efficient as a rookie suggests you're due more volume, not you should have the same volume and just regression. You should get more targets this year, no matter who's running the offense. and they lost Juju. So vacated targets. Ha ha ha. That's why. Not really. The Rod Father. Nice. Dynasty PPR Superflex tight end premium. Giving AJ Dillon and a.
I'm guessing that's a 2024. 2094. That's a heck of a league. Are we paying the league dues for every year in between now? So we got like 900 times 50. That's what we're at. No,
this is a for real dynasty league. It's 24 first. Dylan and a first for DJ Moore and a third in 24. I'll take Dylan on the first.
Yep. I like it. Like we've talked about, I think Dylan is one of the running backs that is poised to, whether you like it or not, have a pretty good bump in value either this year or next year.
DJ Moore is just sexy Terry McLaurin at this point. Plays an entirely different game, but the range of outcomes is fairly similar. Terry McLaurin's a little older, but DJ Moore's been doing it longer. It's just sexy Terry McLaurin.
I want to get that on a t-shirt. He's just sexy Terry McLaurin.
My current running back wide receiver is Justin Jefferson. It doesn't matter, but I like your roster if it helps.
Yes. Anytime you see Justin Jefferson, we're giving you a thumbs up.
Yeah, Marlon Max. Just there, but whatever. Along with AJ Dillon. Yeah. Superflex tight end premium. Kevin Ridley or Robert Woods? A pass.
I'd take Ridley.
I guess, yeah. I'll just take Ridley. I guess
it's the tight end premium that pushed me over the edge toward Ridley.
He's the only one who might see an increase in value ever at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
also he's younger. Dynasty.
I'm just cheering for Calvin Ridley, who got like railroaded for spending $1,400 in bets. Like I want to see him come back and just like burn down the NFL by being great. So I'm gonna take that as opposed to the husk of Robert Woods.
Yeah, Shred sucks, but I guess. Mitch Trubisky or Jacoby Myers, Superflex. Myers, why not?
Gross.
Why not? Which players are you picking up late in the second round of your rookie drafts? Late in the second round. That's a better question. Because I take David Bell and Trey McBride really early in the second round. Just throwing that out there. Yep. I'm trying to think how's best to look at my ranks. You can look at my rookie ranks anytime on the thing I've got pinned to my timeline, by the way. Static won't have it. I'm going to have to open up my other big database just to look this up. I hope you all appreciate that.
So for me, while Peter pulls up his database in
I can't remember any of the rookies. So
in the late second round, I'm starting to look at some of those running backs. If for some reason Isaiah Spiller has fallen because people have decided he is not any good, Dameon Pierce, Brian Robinson, Zamir White, also Wan'Dale Robinson and Tyquan Thornton. And then if it's super flex, all of those quarterbacks are right in that area. So like Malik Willis, Ritter, Matt Corral, that area. So
well, I don't know what the ADP is anymore.
Romeo Dubs, but he may not be falling to the late second anymore.
I think he is. Last time I looked, he was in the third. That's how outdated I am. I'm rookies right now. But in the second round, the players I'm targeting is David Bell. Enough, I'll take him in the late first. Then it's Trey McBride, Rashad White, Spiller, but they're normally gone by mid-second round last time I looked. Yep. So the players that come after that, who I just wanted to make sure, just in case they're there, I want you to know I like them better. But it's Wan'Dale Robinson. That's it. That's a guy that's interesting. And then I'm starting to take shots at Justin Ross, Piet Strong, Jalen Thomas, and Brian Robinson. But I'm not really that excited about any of them. So
why do you hate Tyquan Thornton, Peter?
I don't know. Something about the way he punched me in the face that one. I don't know.
I mean, like
Tyquan Thornton's fine.
We've had this, but like he was if you subscribe to Draft Capital, he was a second round pick He's on an offense that is in flux. They're going to be looking to get younger, to rebuild, to revamp. They've got rid of their offensive coordinator. He's had camp buzz. Like, I'm taking him in the late second, early third, because whatever. Like, if you miss on that, you're supposed to miss on that. When you're only hitting on second round picks at like a 15% rate anyway.
Late second, you can take Dubs, you can take Tyquan Thornton, that's fine. But the guy I want in that range is Wan'Dale Robinson because I think he was good in college.
Yeah.
But you can take anyone after that. I don't have a strong against take on anyone as long as those players are already off the board. Why don't I like Tyquan Thornton? I mean, dragging me back to my rookie things. Come on, man. I can't even find it. He just doesn't show up well on any of the things I look at. Where is he?
You can't even find him. He's blurry.
No, it's really small text. It's a bad way of doing it, and yet it's the way I do it. So there you go. I wanted to make it like an app, and that's always a bad idea in Excel.
But Grant, to answer your question, it's all of those guys we mentioned, but also that's the range where you
just take who you want.
Well, but it's the range where those quarterbacks become interesting. So like Malik Willis with his rushing upside, Matt Corral was the most pro ready. That's where Desmond Ridder has had a little bit of camp buzz. Like those are also guys that are in play in a 12-team superflex.
Yeah. Damn your eyes. All right, hang on. I don't know. He sucked. There you go. There's my answer. It was underproductive based on everything I looked at. I mean, just didn't show up. Some don't. Which players are you picking up late in the second round of your rookie draft? 1 point PPR, 12-team Superflex. I mean, this year I'm taking all the players I would take late in the late second and third round. I think we just mentioned Dubs is interesting at this point. I don't have a problem with Tyquan Thornton in that range. Brian Robinson, we already mentioned. Like after Wan'Dale, I've just got a plethora of I don't think so, but they showed up one way or the other. Sorry, it's been so long since I looked at rookies. I literally have to look it up. Justin Ross.
Yeah, but he's IR this year, so like you're gonna be able to get him for nothing. Yeah.
Well, that is late round though, right?
Yeah. Well, that's later than late second. But yes.
Right. Okay, some late picks.
Well, this is just a repeat of the one before, but telling us that it was 12-team Superflex.
Oh, Tyler Batty, Keontae Ingram, Alec Pierce. I have all of those ranked outside the second round, so they count as late in my opinion. Yeah, I don't have like
Jalen Tolbert's another name that's interesting just because he's in Dallas and everybody's hurt. So he could get run, and if he gets run, then he could produce, and if he produces, then he could stick.
Yeah, I have him ranked 24th overall.
That's late
second round again. Yeah. But he said late round. That's deeper.
No, he said late second. That's late second.
Oh, he did? Okay. Yeah. There you go. Could J-Rob produce more than ETN this season?
He's a better running back.
I can't speak to injuries. That's the problem, and I think the team wants to use ETN. But outside of that, he should, yeah.
Like Robinson is literally taking first-team snaps this week, and they've been running ETN with wide receivers. Like, I know that people don't want to hear that, but James Robinson is really good.
He's a pretty good running back. So the answer here, Kevin, is yes.
He could.
1 QB, half point PPR, Saquon on a 23 and 24 thirds.
Waddle.
Jalen Waddle and James Watson. Waddle and Robinson, sure.
Yep.
Peter, what's the difference between points per game and total points scored in terms of correlation to the year-to-year performance? Not much. You made me work for it, guys.
As soon as I
That's
saw
a question.
R squared, I know I can put myself on mute.
Depends which position you're looking at, but overall PPR points correlate to next year. Oh, that's rookies. Hang on. Sticky predictions. There you go. Yeah, they're identical. 0.35 to 0.35 year to year, and that's across all three positions. There are some slight differences, like tight ends are a little more predictive in points per game. So are running backs, quarterbacks are more predictive if you're using overall points versus points per game. But they balance out to be as predictive as each other, and those differences are fairly marginal. Might just be a sampling error. Again, we've talked about this before, and I know there's someone out there like trying to make their mark and become rich and famous by saying, "Aha, you didn't use overall point." And maybe I'm not a very smart man, but I've been doing that test for 2 years straight and releasing the data, and it's the same. I think points per game, especially once we adjust for players that played at least 8 games, just the same thing. And at least then you get to use some smaller samples, and everyone knows that it's adjusted for the games they missed and stuff. I'm the same, Zach. I load up. I'm running backs and wide receivers and roll one quarterback. I think it's viable. What you smoking? I don't actually know what it's called. It's just a local tobacco. Gambler. Oh, which I'm not advocating for that activity. It's just the name of the brand. You can take the girl out of the 1 QB leagues, but you can't take the 1 QB leagues out of the girl.
That's always been my motto.
That's what I've been saying about Zach for years. Grant, trade away Trubisky for a late 22nd, late 22 second, or third while he's still. I mean, show me a trade, I'll tell you yes or no. I think trading Trubisky for some decent value is fine, but he could be startable in the Superflex. I don't know how many teams are interested in giving up draft capital, and a 22 for second or third isn't worth much.
So you're talking. I mean, we just talked about all the players you could get there. Although
they suck.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't mind trading Trubisky for a 22 second and then drafting Malik Willis and hoping that he becomes better than Trubisky. But it's not something I'm actively looking to do either.
Yeah, it's not like the dynasty move I'm making or anything, but yeah, it's fine.
See if you can put Trubisky with your second and get a late first, and then you could end up with David Bell for Trubisky in a second, or Pickens for Trubisky in a second.
Yeah, I'm tired, or that's probably normally the answer. It's like I'd rather package and trade up than try and scoot along looking to hit a home run somewhere at the same time.
You were so natural saying home run too. You were just like, yes, I have played baseball my entire life. Home run.
Yes, I know what that means. Yeah. Eric, clearly he's not smoking Zach in fantasy football. Smoking Zach at fantasy football. You won't talk smack. I'll do it for you.
I get by, Eric. I do all right.
He does all right,
but not at the expense of Peter.
That's not true. Dynasty full PPR. How would you rank wide receivers? Pittman, Bateman, Amon-Ra, Judy, Elijah Moore, and Devontae Smith. Thanks, love the show. You want to go first then?
Oh man, I think Bateman, Pittman is easy, and then it gets difficult. I think Smith, Moore, Amon-Ra, Judy is how I would do it. So Bateman, Pittman, Devontae Smith, Moore, St. Brown, Judy, and the Smith, Moore, St. Brown is pretty close, and then Judy is just a little bit behind that. At least for me, I think we're going to see the Bateman breakout. If we hadn't done running backs to breakout, I think Bateman is a top 24 wide receiver this year.
I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to finish in the top 36 more than the top 24.
That's fair.
But it's possible. It's possible. Yep. He's a good candidate. I think he's outside the top 10 candidates to break out in terms of likelihood, just because things I've talked about too much.
So do you like Pittman better than Bateman?
I think he's more likely to finish in the top 24. Yeah,
Absolutely. But I'm talking like now we're talking dynasty value versus short term. Like I think
interesting enough. Yeah, Bateman's drafted like 20 spots after him. I'd rather have Bateman 20 spots lower. Yeah. Sure. Who else is it? Judy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hang on. I spent so long on these ranks. I gotta use them now, and I'm doing it. And screw.
See, that's a beautiful part about not doing rankings is I can just look at them and go, okay, well, this is how I feel because it's so fluid. Like if you ask me the same question next week, it may be different because
I should probably
changes.
I should switch my Bateman ranking. Elijah Moore, Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Pittman, then Rashad Bateman, and then Jared Judy. I have Jared Judy last.
So you're really high on St. Brown?
Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yeah. I have Pittman and Bateman basically back to back, by the way. I could switch that up. But yeah. I don't know why anyone would I've heard arguments and they're all reasonable, don't get me wrong. But I don't think he had no competition last year for targets is entirely true. He had Swift, he had Hawkinson from the majority of the season. I think he fell in the draft for reasons, but he was always a high tier prospect and he did pretty well in his rookie year, which most 4th round picks don't do. I think if you ignore the 4th round pick nature of it, and also you can do that because he fell in the draft unexpectedly versus his star rating and also his rookie profile. Like he's more Diggs than he is, Micah Mitchell. Then you can just ignore that. And if he wasn't a 4th round pick, wouldn't everyone be excited about him? And that's why I view it.
I mean, and I don't even think of him like the 4th round pick thing doesn't factor into my thought process very much.
Okay. You don't like him as much as me, though?
No, I don't have him at the top of this list.
Well, no, I had him second, I think, didn't I?
Oh, okay.
I had Elijah Moore, then Amon-Ra, and then.
So you have Moore ahead of Pittman and Bateman, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, kind of had you and Ryan McDowell are up at the top of the mountain.
No, I'm not. That's the thing. I kept up in the ante, and I'm still lower than I was still barely above average. I was like, "Fuck this! This is as far as I can go with Elijah Moore."
See how brilliant we were telling you to wait until the draft because because Moore's value went way down, and now it's coming way back up. It's so easy to see these little trends. It's fun.
Sometimes.
Not for every player, but there are some that are pretty obvious.
Yeah, I had Smith second. Sorry, Elijah Moore, then Smith, then Amon-Ra, then Pittman, which is too low. But I would actually put Bateman over him, like we talked about. In terms of value, Connor Neal, 10-team Superflex start 10. Not a competitor right now. Traded Swift and Jamal Williams for Jameson Williams. You didn't get enough. If you traded Swift and Am Williams, it's Jamal Williams. Okay. Yeah, that's understandable. 2 firsts for Swift.
Well, 2 firsts and a first because Jameson Williams is a first. I would still want more than that for Swift. I think that.
Yeah, that's kind of not enough.
Because you got a 22 first, a 23 first, and a 24 first. I would want more than that for Swift. And I know Peter's been advocating for trading Swift, but you also have to get for me to trade him. And I don't mind. I'm with Peter in that the community overvalues Swift, but in order to trade him, I'm going to get that overvalue.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's not overvalued.
Right?
He just. Yeah. And Jameson Williams is fine. He's not my favorite. To add. So it's fine. I don't think you got too ripped off, too awful bad. If you're happy, it's cool. Paul says I'm a huge Vikings fan and I have a rule of no Packers ever on my fantasy teams. Okay, my buddy think I'm nuts, but I sleep well at night. Hey man, it's your team.
That's the thing. I mean, if you got to have fun playing fantasy, and if you're not having fun because you have a Packer on your team, trade him.
What would you pay to get Jared Judy on your fantasy team? I mean,
if we're like 24 first,
yeah.
So like a 23 second ish, a 23 second plus,
223 seconds.
Yeah. Yep. This is a great question.
Why don't you tell everyone about Tyquan Thornton?
Oh, I've talked about Tyquan Thornton on here. I just think, Peter, you're like, if we're looking at draft capital, he was a second round pick. If we're looking at teams with a nebulous depth chart, the Patriots have like 6 wide receiver 3s, and that's their starting lineup. Like I know that we like, I know you like Kendrick Bourne, and I know that everybody likes who's their actual wide receiver 1, Jacoby Myers. Like I know that people like them, but they're still not like a normal team. They would be wide receiver 3, like those. And so like it's a nebulous depth chart. What he does well, and if you look at his last year in Baylor, like yes, he led the team in targets, which whatever. The yardage was fine, but the touchdowns were high, and they were high because of the way he scored them. Like he can catch a slant and go to the house, which is exactly what Mac Jones needs. Like to me, spending a second or a third or a fourth, I mean, like sometimes you can get him that late to have a player like that. Normally I'm looking at running backs in that range. If the running backs are gone, I don't mind spending a pick on Thornton, because if I miss on that, whatever. If I hit on that, like I hit on Darnell Mooney, like I hit on Hunter Renfrow, you can make a team out of those picks if you happen to hit on one. And if you miss, it doesn't matter. You get another one next year. You get a 3rd round pick next year. It doesn't matter. You get a 4th round pick next year. It doesn't matter.
No, I don't mind him at ADP at all. Is the thing. Like I don't hate him. What I would say is,
it says you hate him in the chat. Why do you hate him? I see it right there.
Like that all makes sense, but you could say reasonable at his ADP. You could say that about almost anyone. It's so late and it's so cheap.
But second round capital,
and you might get target.
Like it's very rare
it's
that
also
you get that.
Yeah. So it's just a draft capital in the situation, and that's fine. But there's nothing on his profile that led me to him. If you want to say every player that's underdrafted based on draft capital is a decent value, like it's not that I don't like him. It's like I have nothing to add. So why would I can't say this stat.
But to me, I like
takes
him
away from it. It's fine.
To me, I liked him on film too. So
that's the thing. I like it. Yeah, I get that, but I can't comment on it. Like his draft capital, he's being drafted too low based on his draft capital. But there's always a couple that fall like that. So was Tutu Atwell, for example, but at least he had stats. I like.
He was teeny tiny.
Let's see. There was someone Matt keeps pointing out that I've basically never heard of, who also had like 3rd round capital at the wide receiver position, and we're basically not drafting. I would have to go look up exactly who we drafted. But I mean, yeah, he's not the only one who's got 2nd or 3rd round draft capital. Yeah, that sounds like it. I don't know. It's just something Matt talks about.
Yeah. I mean, that was the only other 3rd, unless you're talking. I don't think he was a Velus Jones guy, but.
Well, no, he was just pointing out that we are underdrafting a few players that were drafted higher in the NFL.
But to me, there's a fairly substantial difference between 2nd round capital and 3rd round capital.
Okay.
And once you're past 3rd, like then we got a really substantial difference. But
yeah, I don't disagree with that. There's nothing I can add to the conversation. He had bad college stats, by the way I view him. He was drafted in the 2nd round, and his ADP is really cheap. I hate him. I just got nothing to add. Samson Simpson, 1 QB, half point PPR. I have the 101, the 103, the 104, and my 105 in my rookie draft. if the 102 goes Cook, oh god, I live in Buffalo.
You cheer for that. Yes. Yeah. If the 102 goes Cook, then you just reel off those wide receivers.
Yeah, it's Burks for me. Like
Burks, London.
Frankly, Burks might fall to third even if someone didn't go Cook. Like, I started to like Cook more the more I thought about it and dug in. And by the time I look back, people were already starting to draft Cook in the first 3 picks. I'm like, nah.
No, so if I assume you're going, it's a 1 quarterback, so you're going Hall. So if they go Cook, then you go Burks, you go London, and then whether you decide you want Garrett Wilson or Pickens, whoever you want there at
Olave.
3 Olave. Yeah. Olave's a little bit further down for me, but yeah. So
but yeah, take your wide receiver 1 if they go running back. I don't think there's a third running back worth considering.
Well, no, he's saying he has 101, 103, 104, and 105. So
take
go get your Hall, go get your, like I said, London, Burks, and then whoever else you want at 105. Pickens, I think, maybe Wilson. But I wouldn't fight you on either of them.
I'm getting hyped up by training camp player reports. I like Mahomes acknowledging the existence of McCall Hardman. I think it's weird. The depth chart shrank and no one's interested. For the first time, I think McCall Hardman's reasonably drafted and reasonably underhyped and should get 600-700 yards.
Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be second on that team in targets behind Kelsey and is going to have a resurgence.
Oh yeah,
and Peter's just going. You won't even be able to talk to Peter next year. He'll just be like, Mr. Howard, be like, Juju, and he'll just keep walking.
No, I mean, yeah. Juju's guy is going to carry most of the volume, but Hardman's going to keep doing what he's been doing, and he's actually reasonably priced at this point. I think that's interesting. It's like when the hype died. I don't know. Again, I try to remember when I'm wrong. I thought Hardman would do jack shit, and what he's actually done is developed a significant wide receiver 3 role on a good team. I was just wrong on that. It's just that everyone was so far wrong in the other direction that it feels like I was right. But I was wrong.
Mean, you were just saying that he wasn't going to be Tyreek Hill. That's a win.
Yeah. And yeah, Juju.
And as far as your last question, is there a change in how you value players based on camp hype? No, but also yes. So no, in the highlight videos and the one-handed catch videos and all the stuff that comes out, but yes, in the consistency day to day, week to week. If you keep hearing McCall Hardman or you keep hearing right now, George Pickens for 2 weeks in Pittsburgh has been the only thing anybody has talked about. And we also thought he was pretty good. And so you see those that kind of convergence of a drumbeat plus a player that you thought was going to be pretty good. That's what I'm paying attention to. It's not the hype videos. It's not the one play. I mean, it's the same way I scout rookies. I'm not looking at highlight videos. I'm looking at the entire process, the entire game a player plays. I want to know what he does negative. I want to know what he does positive, and I want to know what he does most often. And that's the same way I kind of approach training camp. Is I want to continually hear what people are saying about these players, because if you hear it multiple times over a course of weeks, I start to buy in. If it's just so and so made a great catch, okay, fine.
Yeah, no for me. I think all that sounds reasonable, but I think if I let it sway me much at all, I'd have more reasons to make a mistake than I would to improve.
But if you don't listen to it a little bit, Peter, you're going to miss out on James Robinson. You're going to miss out on the players who come in and get that camp hype and Philip Lindsay.
This offseason, though, because I'm not going to miss out on James Robinson. Because all I had to know is he's been good, and I just don't think he's suddenly bad. And
I don't mean James Robinson this year. I mean James Robinson as a rookie.
Oh yeah, but I did miss on him. But then I recognized it when it happened. It was possible to know about him a little more advanced at that, but
I mean, if
yeah,
you've been listening to the Dynasty Dummies,
no, just listen to that podcast and you're fine. It's like so much, and it's every year, and there are so few nuggets, and I'm like, I would have made so many worse decisions versus the one or two that help.
And that's why it's got to be the continued,
right,
as opposed because there's so many people that are just like, oh, Drake London made a play today, or so Mecole Hardman had a it's like, okay, fine, but if they continue to run with the ones and continue to see a lot and continue to be good, you see it in preseason, then eventually you're like, I mean, it's like the Ramondre Stevenson, okay, so now we're paying attention. Ramondre Stevenson had a pretty good year last year. There is buzz that they may trade Damian Harris. So now we're paying attention to Ramondre Stevenson. It's not a run out and Ramondre Stevenson is a running back one, but it's now he's on the radar. It's that sort of thing.
I know he's just already on my radar, and if I was listening, I would have double counted. You can get most of it without having to bother with all these. I mean, I want everyone to have a job too, but that's not most of these. It's like we're giving a community of reporters a job because otherwise they'd be running around causing mayhem. As far as I can tell, that's what it's for. But no, it's cool. What has Dylan or Clyde Edwards-Helaire done to have a higher breakout chance? And
they haven't broken out already.
That's actually part of it.
Yeah, that's it. He can't break out again because he's already broken out. Gibson already broke out.
They have a lot in common with breakouts. And third-year breakouts still happen. We don't have anyone going into their second year outside of Javonte Williams who's not already ranked inside the top 5. So listing him as potential breakouts just fucking senseless. He's already drafted there. And same with DeAndre Swift. He's got a pretty good breakout chance as well, which means nothing. So already drafting him as if he's done it. After that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, AJ Dillon are both going into their third year, which is the second most common top 12 and top 5 breakout year for running backs. 70% of running backs who break out inside the top 12 or top 5 for the first time in any year, but especially in the third year, have had a top 36 season or a top 24 season already. Both of them have already done that. Their points per game match, their target share match, they already have roles on successful offenses. A lot of running backs do work into that breakout year because of an injury, so AJ Dillon would be too unusual. Now, the volume increase Clyde Edwards-Helaire would need to get to the top 12 would be slightly unusual, but sometimes it's done through efficiency. And if we can make that bet for DeAndre Swift in the first 6 picks, and I don't think it's unreasonable to say Clyde Edwards-Helaire drafted 5 rounds later is also a reasonable bet for efficiency in this particular year. Since it is the third most common year that running backs did it. Again, I did a better job of that, both in the 2 articles I've written and the video I made, but those are the highlights. That's what frustrates me. That's why I've got such a frustrated air about this stuff. It's like the rookies that I get, like the James Robinson point and the Clyde Edwards, this is stuff you could have known 2 months ago. I know because I put fucking blood, sweat, and tears into putting content out, and now motherfuckers are on Twitter talking like they invented it. It's like, no, you could have learned it 2 months ago. I did, and I'm sick. I'm tired. But yeah, that's why I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and AJ Dillon. Using the factors that breakouts have in common, they kind of have it in common. And it works this way too. I don't hate Antonio Gibson. It feels like in order to get close to his range of outcomes, people have to hate because they stayed way too high in him for way too long. When they could have known it 2 months ago, but it was too boring to know it when you could know it. It's much more interesting trying to claim the knowledge now. Not that they've heard actual people do the work and now they're saying it. No, they don't do that at all. For us unpaid people and all. What could be no tight end premium, tear down from Pitts for Kittle, plus a 23 first enough. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think Kittle's one of those
first. Yeah,
Kittle's one of those tight end values that stick out because there's not a lot of tight ends that we're significantly ranking above or below others, but we are with Kittle, and it's significantly high. So I like this a lot. Here is top 12. Yep. Yeah, but in a low top 12 year, if you know what I mean. The threshold was lower to get into it. You like total points scored like me, or he was top 12? I look at overall finishes. I understand that injuries happen and players miss time. But that ultimately we're trying to rope that together. That's the way I always justify it. It's like saying he would have been top 12 if he hadn't got injured. Well, players are going to get injured in the future as well. So I don't mind like bare arming all that variability in there as well. Value your thirds and fourths. Not really. Over a guy like Hamler, I guess, but it's about an equal sign, right?
Yeah, but I'd rather have the fungibility of the third or the fourth rather than. I mean, like the roster spot's worth something too.
So, more people are people are interested in the picks and Hamler. So yeah.
And this is coming from somebody who like if you throw a third or a fourth in a trade with me, I am going to ignore them. Like they do not, the needle doesn't move. But having
even if it's Hamler on the other side. If they're like, give me Hamler for a third, will you just ignore it?
I mean, that's no. I'll be like, here, you take Hamler. That's fine. But I don't want the third. I want the roster spot.
Roster spots do have value. Yeah,
I can add a running back who could actually like play and score.
It's the worst part of my dynasty life, admitting that, because that's what I enjoy so much, like holding out hope and standing on hills. And I liked Hamler and I liked Edwards as prospects, but because it turns out the majority of people are trying to do that, the best edge you can get is to give up quicker, not to hold on longer.
Yeah.
So, like, I know Rotoviz is putting out a lot of, everyone's kind of letting Hamler fall. It's because that hardly ever fucking happens. Like, it's not like you do nothing for 3 years, then break out. Rarely do you get Russell Wilson added to your depth chart, but I mean, that's peering at eggshells, sucking eggs. I don't know. That's just working way too hard.
You usually navel gaze, but
yeah, navel gazing something. It's something stupid that you shouldn't spend time doing. Gibson is my interesting.
Yeah, I mean he's going down around James Conner, Peter.
Yeah,
in Dynasty,
that's interesting,
which makes him an interesting buy low. And it's funny because he fell because they drafted Brian Robinson, who's a really good running back.
Yeah,
but like Brian Robinson is interesting if Gibson gets hurt. He's not interesting because he's on the team. Like,
no, I'm with you. Here's the thing, though. Like, no, it's not the thing. I gotta stop saying that. Here's the thing. It's like a tick I got. But like, Gibson's an interesting value because he might be a running back that offers no value of pretty much hardly any value over replacement when you consider a wide receiver. Like, that's a tier of running back that's kind of meh. It's a tier I'm interested in because I have so few running backs, so that's exciting. Like, ooh, a startable running back. But, like, he's not interesting in the way that he could be a top 12 running back. He didn't do that when he was a top 12 running back.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
I mean, I know.
But we were just talking about how it wasn't really. Justin Jefferson go brrr. Yes, he does.
Absolutely does.
Gibson as a top 12 for 2 seasons? No, I don't think so. I think he did it once last year, and it was in a down running back year. Though the running back position has perpetually been down, but over the last 4 years. But I'm pretty sure
we should do like 4 episodes with Jacob Rickroad and talk about that.
Maybe. Yeah, he definitely wasn't a top 12 running back when he got 795 rushing yards in his rookie year. Like, I'm pretty sure. Now I gotta check. When you don't have a good memory, you spend a lot of your time checking things, you know? Yeah. He's like running back 19, running back
I mean, he was running back
per game.
He was running back 12 and running back 13.
12 overall, 8 last year. So no, he's done it once.
But I'm not points per game, but in overall finish, he was 12. He was 13 2 years ago and 12 last year.
I am 14, but sure.
I go
Corey
by
Dillon. That's fair. One hand catches do matter. Corey Dillon?
I don't know.
Yes. Eric, Michael Thomas is getting back from 2019 form. Sure. Hype now that he's practicing. I wonder if you believe. I don't know for injuries. I do know that Michael Thomas is undervalued, whether he's healthy or not.
So here's the thing.
But
at best, Olave is the wide receiver 3 on that team.
Oh yeah, that's a fair takeaway.
Like, and the Saints may have the most undervalued wide receiving core. Not even may have. This is the most undervalued between Thomas and Jarvis Landry. Like, they're going to score a lot of points as long as they stay healthy. Don't like Olave, whatever. Like, he's fine, but no, I'm not. I don't think Olave's numbers are going up too because of Michael Thomas. No.
Yeah. Olave was a middle of the field and touchdown guy in college. Like, I never trust an idea when the whole concept revolves around if he's an entirely different player. I mean, he could be, because we haven't seen him play in the NFL yet, which is also a point that his numbers can't go up. He doesn't have any numbers yet.
Right.
Most rookies right now heading into 2021 are offering fairly good value for their likely expectation, because they're not being drafted very high in redraft and stuff. But you're not going to get any news we're not going to see any news that is going to be able to make me say, and so their prospect should move up as a rookie.
Right.
Like, that's just not, there's nothing that really indicate that. It's all stories and narrative. And then the ones that work out will look back and say, see, it was true. When really, I don't know. Yeah, it sounds good. Honestly, I just think Michael Thomas in 2 years is probably going to be the value if he keeps playing. But the last person I heard talking about his injury said that he should really struggle this year, no matter how well he's recovering, just because it's a serious enough injury. So, yeah, I don't think anything's changed. That's the other part of the season. All the news, you have to re-ask questions you feel like you answered already. I'm really, I don't change much. Someone offered me Carr and McLaurin for AJ Brown.
If that's a super flex, I'd probably take it.
Oh,
I probably do. Fun. Like Carr and McLaurin, like AJ Brown and McLaurin are not that far off. Plus, you get a QB too. I mean, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, if it's a super flex. If it's not,
no chance.
He's going to be the wide receiver 2 on the Bills this year. I think that's probably a good bet. Yeah, I think he's probably going to come in behind Stephon Diggs.
So. Are we underselling Jamison Crowder a little bit? No, sorry.
Fair point. He could be the wide receiver 2 in Buffalo too, but I think it's probably good. Right, Joe and Sampson, feel like I'm a bit gaslit by Twitter. Yeah, that's actually the feeling. Like you feel. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Twitter feels frustrating at a certain point. And it's not just Twitter, not because it's too popular to hate on Twitter, but it's stuff we were talking about so long ago being relit.
Gibson is one of those players that most people missed on as a rookie because of the small sample size and not being utilized very much in college. And I think he only had like 42 carries. And so like a lot of people missed on him. And so it's easier if nobody plants a flag on a player, it's easier for the community to just go, oh, well, we'll move on. So I think that's part of it.
I was thinking about that. With
Darnell Mooney.
Amari Cooper, the one I mentioned earlier. It's like, because like when I come to his position in the draft, because I haven't said anything good and I haven't said anything negative, I'm less likely to draft him, even though he's reasonably priced.
Yeah, he's just nothing.
Like, if I don't have a strong opinion,
there's no feeling. You have no emotional attachment. Yeah,
and that's kind of where I'm at with Gibson. It's like he's not bad, it's not good, it's like cheap, and he's probably he's a top 15 running back. And with any strong emotion, I'd go and see if there's any wide receivers I want. You know, and that's not necessarily. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying it might be a flaw in the way I draft, because if I don't have a strong opinion, I go looking for the players I got strong opinions on in that ADP, when that's not necessarily the player to draft there. But sorry. 10-team full PPR start 10 rebuild, trying to turn into a competitive. Would you trade 223 first for Aaron? No. AJ Dillon and Hollywood.
Oh, look at
I
him stop
mean,
and think because he saw Hollywood and Dylan that he really likes.
well, Dillon and Hollywood, you'd say were worth first, especially with Aaron Jones as a topper on Dillon. No.
Yeah, I'd probably do that. It's close, but I'd probably do the Jones Dylan, especially you're now if you're looking to be competitive, assuming that you have if this I don't know if this is a super flex league, but assuming you have your quarterback situation locked down, a running back room of Aaron Jones, Swift, and Brees Hall
Oh,
is nice. And a wide receiver room of Jefferson, Hollywood, and
Pitts and
Pittman is
Howard.
nice. So yeah, like I don't mind doing that.
You go into the finals with that, Russ. The only thing that gives me some pause here is a start 10.
Yep.
Oh, the 10-team league. Like, you want as many studs as possible. I don't think Hollywood is top 12. I don't think Aaron Jones is top 5, or even the combination between him and Dale on the top 5. And that's like the stud level. So it's fine. You probably guarantee yourself getting into the playoffs, if you know what I mean, if you're not already. So I don't hate it. Could you take those two first and go get? That's the only other thing I can think of. I mean, who are the tiers? It's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, JT, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley.
I think you need 3 to get up to most of those guys.
That's what I'm thinking, and so that makes this fair. But yeah. Mitch and Pickett will find the Tower Muth in the red zone.
How are they going to get to the red zone?
79 targets as a rookie, tight end. Like, that's exceptionally high, touchdown regression or not. And it's with significant competition, because guess what? Targets aren't vacated. Players that earn targets, and he did that. I think it's notable. I think he could be one of the top 3 dynasty tight ends this time next year. That's honestly where I'm at. He could not be, but he could be, and he's drafted well outside that range. Because it was never about.
I think he's Robert Tonyan.
Okay. I don't think so. Because it was never about Gibby's value. Well, if you give a guy a nickname like Gibby, people are going to be like, I don't want to say that all the time. I think that's the real problem. They just don't want to use that name all the time. Instead, people created this complex argument for him in May why his ADP was too high. I mean, maybe people can big brain it, stuff like that. I thought last year was kind of a fluke. Because the overall scoring was down in general. I think he's fine. I think he's definitely a good player. Fantasy Twitter is a dangerous place to be right now. People are really bored. Yeah, that's not a bad description.
But I will say that you curate your own timeline. So
yes.
So the timeline that I have of fantasy Twitter is not hair on fire. Like, if that's the like, I mute those accounts if I even follow them.
I will say I haven't heard any rookie talk or Antonio Gibson talk. So I'm curating it well enough to avoid that, apparently. No, I'm not going to say that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's your timeline. If you're bored of hearing someone talk on it, you can mute. That's why I tell people when they unfollow me, I'm like, if you don't want to hear my blather on Twitter, like, no hard feelings. You got to have a good time where you're spending your time. It's valuable. So shut me the hell up. 10-team Superflex half-point PPR, start 10. Should I trade Jameson Williams and a late 23 third for Mooney? Oh, I think Mooney's got the upside this year, but I mean, if he doesn't hit it, then you're really going to regret trading away that younger wide receiver, probably.
Yeah, Mooney's an interesting one because I think you can get him for less than that. I don't think you have to give up Jameson Williams to get Mooney, but I think he's probably worth more. I think I would rather have Mooney in this trade, but I don't think you have to give up that side, Clinton. I think I would try to get Mooney for something else.
That's a smart answer. That's probably what I would say after hearing you say it. Like, I take Mooney in this trade. That's my honest answer. I don't think you have to give up this much to get Mooney, though. I think that's fair. But if this is being offered to you, then that's the trade on the table.
I know you know this intelligent analyst, but I got a DM yesterday from a gentleman who goes by the handle of Jake Anderson PGA. I don't know. He's a golf guy.
Never heard of him.
But he messaged me and said if Darnell Mooney wasn't Darnell Mooney, he would be a top 10 dynasty wide receiver.
I think he's actually a top 12 breakout candidate.
Yeah.
It's just you got to believe in Fields. You've got to, that's what it is.
I want to go get Mooney, but I don't think you have to pay a first and a third to go get him.
Is he going below Sutton?
Oh, I'm sure he is. Let me just.
Yeah, it's kind of like even we talk about Sutton all the time, but we rarely mention Mooney. Mooney's probably a cheaper version of that same shot, but without the quarterback.
He's going way below Sutton.
Yeah.
I'm still scrolling, Peter.
Hang on. Since everyone seems to have forgotten that, I closed it. I was gonna say, he's one of the wide receivers that pop for me as potential. Same analysis I was doing with running back in terms of career year, how long left they have on their breakout arc versus what they've done already. He showed up as a top 6 likely breakout into the top 12, which is significant.
I get him everywhere in the
There's a guy in my Discord called Jay Bright who constantly mentioned it, and I was like, I don't know. I normally love those undrafted free agents, but he's got Fields, and I'm not a big believer.
He's going even with Sutton.
And then I did the research, and I was like, no, actually, you got a point. If you like him and he's on your roster, I'd hold on to him because his value is too low right now. So, actually, top 5 breakout potential. He's the 5th highest likely top 12 breakout to translate that into a normal language.
But he's going even with Sutton. So I was wrong on that, but still, right on that cusp of top 24. He's right there. He's top 24. I mean, I like them both.
Prefer Sutton over Mooney, but if I'm getting Mooney less than Sutton, I like it a lot.
Yep. I had to pay a lot more to get Sutton on Twitter my team than I did Mooney.
Twitter is a personification of the fireman in Orwell's 1984. I like that because you have to have read 1984 to understand it. Which is one of those books that you read because you got to, but it's actually really enjoyable to read.
There are several of those.
I normally find it a slog. I'm sorry. I tried Tolstoy, and I know it's this work of literary genius, and I found it hard. Same with Lord of the Rings fella.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, Tolkien.
How great it is, his actual book. I can't.
I never
took me
could.
3 years to read one because it's such a slow slog for me. I don't know why. I got. Whereas I've read 20 Terry Pratchett books in the last 2 weeks, and I think that's genuinely good writing. So it's possible to be good and fun.
I'm pretty sure I just bought the first book in Discworld on audiobook this week.
See, I was never a big Terry Pratchett guy because I'm a Douglas Adams guy, damn it. But I was bored and I found Kindle the other week.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you can buy books for less than $10. And now I'm poor. But so Terry Pratchett showed up. I read one that I really liked, and I tried 3 and 4. Anyway, I ended up, and now I'm sad again because I read all the Night Watch books, and Terry Pratchett's gone from us now, and those characters, there's no more of them. And it's really sad. So I would read them slowly, Zach. It's kind of depressing. Sorry, Joe. What were you saying? I respect some Alice more if they said, I don't know. I just don't like him. Sorry. I feel like that's a direct quote from me on most questions. So, there's a wide variety of players I don't have a strong opinion on. I try to have as few strong opinions as possible because ADP is normally just good enough. It's like points per game. It's good enough. I like understanding the other stuff, but it's good enough. Friends. Burn them to ashes, then burn the ashes, probably. Talking about Twitter, that's probably an appropriate reaction. No, Peter, I'm talking about you. I never talk about you like that. You can. It's fine. I'm terrible. Let me see.
We should have a conversation about Peter right now. He will never even know. It'll just be you and me.
I'm paying very little attention most of the time. Sorry, this just showed what? There's a little notification. There's something about $10. I think we're behind because I got in my feels, and so someone. Oh, there we go. Clinton, I got Williams for the 110, and I have Waddle, Sky Moore, Elijah Moore. You got a very young team, man, and Garrett Wilson and London. I did the trade mostly to get field stack. I'm in a rebuild with three firsts next year. Cool. I don't know what the question is. It feels like there should be a question. I would say this: you're way too invested in the 22 wide receiver class. I'm scared for you because it's a scary class, but it sounds like you're getting decent value on them. Like that trade doesn't seem bad. I like that you've got Waddle and Elijah Moore. That insulates you a little bit because they're already a little bit proven. Yeah. Sorry, skimming back up here now. Might take me a second. Talk amongst yourselves. It's fine. I've got it. No, we read that one.
You were
where we were
right about there.
We were in the middle.
You can keep going down.
Yeah, I see that.
The Podfathers burner account. No way, not Joe. I mean, zero chance that. I'll leave it at that.
Full PPR, half point bonus, running backs PPR. What order do I put these rookies running backs of the next 5 years? Pierce, Spiller, White. You're not a huge fan of Pierce, right? I don't mind the volume argument. He's got a path to it.
He's fine.
The order I rank these as prospects is Spiller, White, Pierce. But I think the reverse is true in ranks, right?
I think, to me, it should be Spiller, Pierce, White.
Oh, you've got Pierce above White.
Well, I think he's going to score this year, and I'm not convinced that White is ever going to take over a backfield. So,
oh, you're not okay.
No,
I thought you liked White. I kind of like White's profile. I thought if Fournette goes down, unfortunately, hopefully not.
No, that's not Rachaad White. That's Zamir White.
Oh no! Sorry, I backed up. I'm entirely in lockstep. Yeah, I Spiller, Pierce, White, and
like Pierce probably has the most the most chance to score points this year
immediately without having to see
I think Spiller's a pretty good. Like if Eckler got hurt,
and I think that's what Steve's asking about because he's saying over the next 5 years, and that's all about the player you prefer. So Spiller would be one for me.
Spiller, yep. Yeah.
I thought I liked Thornton 2 until Newman Jackson. Now I'm out. I don't know. Got to pass on Thornton if Coach Hood drafts him. You're welcome, Joe. I don't know what I did, but I'll do more of it.
There have never been any productive wide receivers in New England, so I'm completely with you.
Right? It's been tight ends all the way, I think. In a 12-team keeper league, half-point PPR, keep 2 for the cost of as many years as you want. I have Mixon, Javonte, Aaron Jones, Pitts, Kelsey. I have the 112 in the draft. Which 2 do you keep?
I mean, if you can keep them for as many years as you want, it's Javonte and Pitts.
Yeah. Those are the 2 I
mean.
Yeah. I think more than one of those makes it back to you at the 112. It's the thing. Whereas Pitts and Javonte, you probably wouldn't. So yeah. Peter, I think you love to. I do love to hope, but I've learned that it has no place in Dynasty. Even better one against hope.
He does swim up the river
intentionally. There's many men who have the opposite opinion of the majority as soon as they know what it is. It's like the French Revolutionary. I should find out where everyone's going so I can lead people there. It's a funny thing I see a lot of because they mostly don't even know. Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I think the masses are pretty smart when it comes to fantasy. Like, and at least in terms of ADP, like. I think
I ended up talking about on my podcast. It's like there's a strong feeling that the masses are dumb, but like if you look at the masses, they're not nearly as dumb as you give them credit for. I'm fading this guy because he's old, but this guy's fine because he's going to score points, and then I'll trade him to everyone else when he's not. It's like no, they know that's coming too. Like if you pay the price, you're going all in.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, yeah. Underestimating the enemy is another way of thinking of it. Just don't do that. 12 team 1 QB, half point PPR, no tight end premium, traded Cam Akers and the 203 for Chark, Fant, and the 108 and the 23 first. Well, how does Chark still have value?
He doesn't, but you got a 108 and a 23 first. And then if Chark becomes the wide receiver 1 in Detroit, which he probably won't, but he could, great. If Fant becomes something, great. But you got the 108 and the 23 first, which I'd rather have than Akers and the 203 anyway.
Fant probably should.
So
be
yes,
fine.
that's a win, Samson.
Yes, sir. Not interrupting conversations. I don't always agree. If you're playing for pure luck, then yes, it makes sense to just do the opposite. I don't.
You got to identify. So that's the thing is the masses are pretty sharp, but you got to identify the places where they aren't, and then exploit that, and hope that you're better at exploiting those places than the masses are.
No, it's interesting. I was in a conversation with someone about Amari Cooper, and they were like, "Are you an analyst?" And I was like, I guess it depends on the definition, because I've stopped trying to guess what's going to happen in the future more accurately, and instead I'm trying to read what people are over and undervaluing in their guesses of the future. If you know what I mean? It's like
come over to psychology, Peter. Welcome.
Yeah, kind of, but it's also what that economist was talking about. He was an actual economist just dabbling in fantasy football, and he said one of the things the market figured out in like the stock market was instead of trying to guess which stocks go up and down, is instead making bets on what people are making bets on, essentially. Like reading where people, what do we get right and wrong more often, and instead centering yourself around those. And that's what I started doing in Dynasty about 2 years ago increasingly. Instead of trying to say, like, David Bell's clearly got the talent and the opportunity and all the targets or whatever. Instead, it's what do we normally get right and wrong and find where that is in our ADP right now. Because the ADP is it's good enough right now. It's almost not worth betting against it most of the time. But we do make common traits. And then there's what Cooper Adams was joking about on Twitter today. Like, beating ADP means nothing if you don't do it in the top 12. Like, it doesn't mean any, like, getting that wide receiver 3 that everyone had ranked as wide receiver 4. That's how people have been gaming, like, the whatever it is, the fantasy ranks that everyone ranks. I'm good because I'm accurate according to these fantasy.
But it's getting Cooper Kupp.
It's not real.
Was going as a wide receiver 3. You know, was going as wide receiver 30. Who is wide receiver 1? Like, that's what
Debo Samuel's over Ayuk, which was
or Hunter Renfrow.
Really hard to do.
Yeah.
Yes, and frankly, Gibson would have been a good one I missed.
Yeah,
I didn't mind him. I thought he was decent. I don't think I was one of the players. He's never going to do anything, but like I didn't see a reason to think he should be a top 12. But if you got that right, that's difference making. Whereas most accurate ranks get the 3rd and 4th wide receivers right, and it has no value. And so beating ADP, but you've got to. But it's in a certain way. You've got to find those ones that actually make a difference. And so, just find what we do right and wrong more often. Actually, I find myself playing towards that than more than anything these days. That seems relevant to what you're talking about. I hope it is, because I talked about it for a long time. It's about echo chambers.
I mean, I think
echo chambers. I think so, but I think that also comes down to we deafen ourselves, but then when we go back to ADP, like Mooney, for example, it would feel like on Twitter, or Gibson for that matter, like both are hated, but you go to ADP and they're not that hated. It's like I want to like Juju a lot, but then when I try and get him high enough in my ranks, he registers as a significant. It's really hard to do. Like Elijah Moore right now, I think I'm smart because I like Elijah Moore, and then you go and try and beat him in ADP. And you gotta really push him up higher than's comfortable for me to really look like you're higher than the market on him. Because again, the echo chamber can also lead you wrong in the wrong direction, making you think you're smarter than you are because you know a player's good. With so does ADP actually. If you go, so it can work in both directions. Is I guess what I'm saying here. I know who this is, but I think we can block that guy. Look at that. Nice. I think it's worth paying attention. The market can get it wrong in both directions, and so can we. And echo chambers can lead you wrongly, like in both directions. I think that's interesting. Can you see the message? I'm from Twitch. I sure can, Island. Sorry. We take a long time to get to all messages. It's not just you. I can see you though. Thank you. And thanks for watching on Twitch. Like, I'm desperately trying to get Twitch off the ground, and everyone's more interested in YouTube on fantasy Twitter, I think. Gabe reminds me of Thielen. It doesn't remind me of Thielen. But I don't watch him, so I need a drink. It's too hot in here. Can you maybe talk about the differences between their games? Like, they couldn't be more drastically different in terms of their progression. So
yeah, no, I don't think that Gabe Davis and Thielen remind me of each other. But Peter's just gonna ditch me here and let me roll about that. I don't even want to talk Gabe Davis. I think he's good. I don't think he's as good as people think he's going to be. I think PFF has propped him up. And yes, he'll be the wide receiver 2 on the Bills. Yes, he'll be fine. He may be a top 24 wide receiver, but I think that's the ceiling of his upside is like wide receiver 18 to 24. And so he's at ADP currently in Dynasty, somebody I'm interested in because I think he's actually undervalued in Dynasty. The hype in best ball and redraft has gone way over the shark. And so I'm not necessarily interested in that in redraft, best ball, that sort of thing. Hey, Peter.
Yeah, they're not similar at all.
we did a whole Jacob Rickroad Gabe Davis. So like if you're really interested in hearing what Peter and myself and Jacob Rickroad, who is admittedly smarter than both of us combined, Samson, go listen to it's probably like 3 or 4 episodes back in the Dynasty Crossroads.
This is actually one of the things we repeatedly do every year. We're projecting a player to explode in overall volume because of efficiency, and therefore we project them way too high in both Dynasty and redraft. Projecting breakouts is the one thing both redraft and Dynasty gets incredibly wrong. Like, again, if you go and look for what's common in wide receiver breakouts, the names that pop up for this year are CeeDee Lamb, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Darnell Mooney, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like we already know they're good, so we're like, well, who's the value who's going to break out from nowhere? Right. It's more often Hunter Renfrow is much more common. That's the guy who's already getting volume, not efficiency, and was lower drafted, breaking out in a lot further career year. We're trying to fit Gabe Davis into this typical breakout arc and make an exception because there were so many good wide receivers ahead of him. Like, it's a mistake we make regularly every year, and it's a mistake. So, like, that kind of says it. Like, he was a good player. He is a good player. He's probably going to be pretty good, but he doesn't look anything like a player who's more likely to explode in volume. Again, the average increase in target share from non-breakout to breakout year is 8% if it's in their second year and they were drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Like, that's the hype. And we would need Gabe Davis to double that to get to where we think he could finish next year. I mean, it can happen because it's fucking reality, non-mathematical sum. Anything can happen. But there's not a lot of reason to expect it. Efficiency doesn't do it. It's one of the mistakes we continually make, so I'm just out. Joe, exactly. That sounds like a good character name. Joe, exactly. You know? Anyway, and I see that what you just described all the time, it comes from this idea that the masses are dumb. Yeah. I just always think if I think I'm the smartest person anywhere, then I'm making a mistake. Not
you're in the wrong place, and also,
and I have self-esteem issues. Don't get me wrong. I just think, I mean, even if you're right about that, like if you're right about that, then Zach's got the right answer. You're in the wrong place, and if you're wrong about that, like there are so many bad things that can happen from that wrong assumption. So it's just almost never worth assuming the person opposite you that you're playing against or with is stupid. Like, it's just never a good idea. the truth is like a lion. You don't. It's getting way too philosophical, guys. I study history, and I'm not a smart man. You gotta back off these deep thoughts. The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose, and it will defend itself. Maybe, but I've also found that it's not that way. You can find out something's true and no one listens, and someone says something that's kind of part of what you found out was true, and everyone believes that. And it's not enough to be the actual anyway, it's not. It's who says it. We believe in reputations and brands. If you're handsome, you're more likely to be believed. If you are symmetrical, you're more likely to be voted president. Again, don't assume you're as smart as you think you are. It's not about truth or untruth. We as humans are deeply flawed. It's who says it and how well they say it. And did they make me laugh or not? That's honestly the truth. Like I bet those people that take a stance in many areas of their lives, probably.
I like that.
It was a Mooney Williams trade. That's from Clinton.
Nice. He got Williams for the 110.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Awesome.
No.
I'm just here to dispel rumors, myths, and anything like that, Joe. I got you.
I've always suspected that Zach is the Podfather, so you know.
No.
Jesse Riddle, 10-team Superflex. I don't know. You appeared on a podcast very early in the Podfather's career. I seem to remember him being on the Dynasty Dummies.
He came on the Dummies. I've hosted his show before, but we talked about the Peter Howard on that show, actually.
That was yeah.
And a little bit of Edge of Tomorrow. That was it was a good episode. I mean, you know, if you're into that sort of thing.
Jesse Riddle, 10-team Superflex, half-point PPR, 1 tight end premium. I'm trying to work either of these trades. Mitchell, Elijah, I'm assuming, the Sun God, and a second for T. Higgins, a third, and another
or
Mitchell?
Mitchell for Pittman in the third. I'd rather have the T in the third.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd do it for Pittman. I think I'd keep Mitchell and St. Brown for the Pittman in the third.
Here's the thing. T. Higgins is overhyped on Twitter, talking about the Twitter bubble Joe was just talking about. But his value is actually pretty decent right now. Like, I think CD Lamb's a more likely breakout candidate, but I think T. Higgins' value and points was a lot more certain. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I've actually found I can't trade him away for a value that I would trade him away. So I would explore trading for him. And this trade would be good. And I like, as we talked about before, I liked the Sun God a lot. And I like Elijah Mitchell. But T. Higgins, there's so much certainty there. Yeah. Good team, good player, good quarterback. Set for how long? Like, I like that.
Yeah, I'd rather have the Higgins side, but I would rather have the Mitchell ARSB, St. Brown. I would rather have Amon-Ra than the Pittman side. Yep.
Yeah. I forgot to ask you about that. You were surprised that I liked Amon-Ra. Where's the line for you where he's not a good value? Is it Pittman?
I mean,
like a top 24 wide receiver, or do you think he's?
No, I think he's a top 24. I mean, okay. I mean, he like I said, there was a group of wide receivers that I had close together, and that, like, to me, that they're all fine. I'm like, they're all fine. Good. Yeah. They're all players that I'm targeting. I'll take whichever one is cheaper. I know that you love that answer, but I think as long as it's not on the same team, you can get away with whichever one is cheaper. You know, where like. It's not the what you talked about on your pod where you take the cheaper option on a team, and that's not always the best way to go. But
no, it did strike me, and I podcast like I do this. I start talking, and I see what I find out by the end of it. It's not planned, and maybe it would be better if I was. But by the end of it, after talking through the players that I'm more distant on than most, in terms of how I'm drafting them lower, it did seem to be there's a high degree of expecting players' careers to turn around from what we've already seen, like Zach Wilson, and that's why the quarterbacks were showing up, and expecting them their value to dip before they come up. And it wasn't a conscious thing. I just thought it was interesting that everyone that was on that list that wasn't a quarterback, I felt like there's a micro market coming.
Yep.
It wasn't intentional, but that seems to be where I go out the hardest. Thanks in advance for the answer. I hope you dudes are well. Thanks, Jesse. I really appreciate you asking the question and checking us out. He always watches the replay. You're the one. Thanks, Jess. Appreciate that, man. I've been a little since I've had a chance to drop in live. It's been a while. Got you, man. No problem, man.
English,
either way.
It's his second language. You have to give Peter a little bit.
I'm not that bright. I have trouble reading. Poor Islands on Twitch. Come over here. No, stay on Twitch, man. I want more company on Twitch. Like, I used to exclusively stream over there, and it was just me. And it was so sad. I really appreciate you staying over there, Islands. What's the typical undrafted free agent breakout timeline? Good question. I wonder how. I don't know who this is. Cecil Grayson fits in the historic undrafted. Broad scope. They tend to have the lower drafted you are, all the way to undrafted free agents. There's a slower breakout arc. It's very similar, actually. Like Adam Thielen and Tyrell Williams, you are actually break out around the second and third year. But if you look at it over the long trend, you can actually wait a little longer. It's a Hunter Renfrow thing where he's drafted outside the first 3 rounds, right? Or the Darnell Mooney one. And their breakout arc seems to be a little bit delayed. So if you can give up on a wide receiver with normal draft capital after their first year, you can give up on an undrafted free agent play after their second year, essentially. But undrafted free agents actually have a few more signifiers. For example, they have to stick to a roster, which isn't really a challenge for a player stuck in the first 3 rounds. And if a player leaves a roster, you give up on them, whether it's the first, second, or third year. But that's what I'd say. I'd say give them an extra year, but it's essentially the same curve and curl. Where was Hunter Renfrow drafted? It feels like you were someone who would know that.
I would have to look that up, but I can do that easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, if you don't know,
I think he was like a 4th round pick. I think he was a 4th, but I will. 5th round pick.
Samson agrees on Gabe Davis, thinks he's a horrible redraft pick, but in Dynasty, I don't know how you can't like him. I find it the other way around, man. Like, if there's not immediate expectation of points, especially outside the second year, like, I think he's a worse Dynasty pick. But maybe that's.
I mean, he's going so low. Like, he's going so low in Dynasty that I think he'll outscore what his ADP is. So, like, I think you're getting, like, he could be a top 24 wide receiver this year. Yes.
I don't think so. I think that would be the unusual top 36, maybe.
But even top 36, he's going at wide receiver 40 in Dynasty. So, like,
it was higher than that.
No. Like, that's what the Gabe Davis conversation is because in redraft and best ball, he's been going up in like 24, 25, 26. But in Dynasty, he's been back. And so that to me is why he's potentially value. I mean, I'd still rather have George Pickens. I'd still rather have Michael Thomas.
Well, yeah,
but I'd rather have
Brandon
him
Ayuk
over. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I'd rather have those guys, but I still think that him being back down in that range is not like that's not jumping the shark. That's not out of the realm of.
But in redraft, if you draft him and he hits that upside, then it was worth it. And if it's not, he's not. You can drop him, you can move on. But in Dynasty, like you're saying, like if you take even at wide receiver 40, because there's like 20 wide receivers valued in the top 24 outside the top 24. Like if you take Gabe Davis and you pass up Pickens, Ayuk, Tony, even under Renfrow, Thielen, some of those are just points players. Several of them are drastic value shifts if they have good years. Like that's a bigger thing to give up on, if you know what I mean.
You know,
like if you draft Gabe Davis in Dynasty and the guy next to you drafts Pickens, you've lost a lot more than in redraft if you draft him 10 spots higher and he doesn't work out. You know what I mean? Because there's
I guess, but I also think that if Gabe, so if let's say you draft Gabe Davis and he hits top 24 this year, and the community was so high on him, and now he's a wide receiver 2, I think you've gained a bunch of value from wide receiver 40.
It's higher risk and reward. I would probably say I agree with that.
But yeah, I'd still rather have Pickens. But
I'd rather have IU.
Yep.
What? I love undrafted Gabe Davis in most of my rookie drafts. Rookie drafts was the time to do it. Like I got no problem with that.
Well, and do you remember when I came on? This was during his rookie year, and he hadn't done.
Yeah, this is the one you got right.
You should go get Gabe Davis right now. And every now and then I hit one, Peter. It's not often, but every now and then.
A few. Yeah, a few. People actually had a second round grade on him, but many of their favorite players fell.
They always say that.
Yeah.
Everybody had a first round grade on DK, which is why he went, as late as he did in the second.
It's like Adam Thielen, he was only undrafted because of all those fallen players, too. Drop the second. I
think he's not a bad player, but he's not a great.
Oh, he's a good. He's an NFL level player, which is.
But I mean, in the context of the NFL, Peter. I don't mean he'd be real good on my Pee Wee team.
Oh, sure, he destroyed it. Yeah, sure. I have him everywhere. I got him late third in most of my rookie drafts. Yeah. Again, there's. Never hate the players. They're all.
No.
I don't need Davis to be super. I have Adams, Higgins, Godwin, and McLaurin.
So I think that first sentence you could edit down to I don't need Davis. I have Adams, Higgins, Godwin, McLaurin.
That's fair.
You could
He's
trade
wide receiver 40th overall, but here's the thing: when investigating trades in Dynasty, like Gabe Davis can get a lot that he shouldn't.
That's what I'm saying, Peter.
Really too high.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Would you take a 24-second for Gabe, a second round pick in 2 years?
I think you get more better.
Yeah, I think he can get better. But yeah, I mean, I would, but I think I would send out better offers first.
I'd rather pair a second with Davis and get a 23 first because I think you're close to that.
Use those sleepers, man. That's the thing about Gabe in Dynasty. No one will give you a first, but I'm not. That's exactly why Zach's saying to pair him up.
Yep.
Also, Pat Freiermuth, valued a second, but no one really wants to give him up a second. Like Gabe for a Freiermuth is an actual trade that happened recently. Like I think that's a solid trade too. Was Jacoby Myers a pop for a breakout? I can't backdate the process. I had one going last year, but it was just for third year players. If I go back, I don't like to back test it that way because I've already told it what good players look like, and I've used those players. But I will probably say no. He probably didn't stick out to me. No, that's not true. I can actually go back through my tweets. It was me and Cooper Adams talking about how he should be the leading wide receiver, and then I switched to Kendrick Bourne because Jacoby Myers kept getting pushed up, and that worked out to get a 3-touchdown game.
Peter.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were able to highlight Jacoby Myers as a likely undrafted free agent to watch last year. The only one that stands out to me this year, by the way, is Marcus Callaway, which is somewhat disappointing considering he's on the Saints and we've got Landry and Olave and everyone else. But, yeah, we actually were able to highlight him, but not through the same process that I'm using there. Okay, I gotta go. Have we been? Oh, it's past midnight. Sorry, Zach.
It is.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for checking out, Joe. Sorry for taking too long. Everyone's waving goodbye to Joe. Saying goodbye to Joe. Pleasant evening, says Alan Davis.
I don't think there's any question about that. Yes.
We got a Facebook comment. Hey, Facebook,
Irvin.
Facebook guy. Yeah, I was going to say Irvin, but I thought I'd take an extra second because I felt like I was going to get it wrong. Yeah, I think Amon St. Brown will outperform Gabriel Davis. That's a good thing to kind of come to a close on. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, I'm hoping Gabe Davis gains value. I think he already has. That's unfortunately, you should listen to Zach a year ago. I guess listen to whoever Zach is talking about now, which apparently is Tyquan Thornton. Because I don't...
No, it's but we were talking about Pickens. Like Pickens is going to be that guy. Pickens is going to be that guy. Or go back and listen to. I did a show a couple weeks ago with all the guys I think that are going to be good this year and beyond. So try for Gabe Davis. Guy offered the 24-second,
isn't budging on 23 picks.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
It's hard to remember my opinions without also remembering my reasons for them. There, that was for Joe Herbert. We had to throw that in there. All right, Peter, look over there.
You gotta go. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Look behind you, please. We get embarrassed if you look directly at us when we go.